My stepson texted, "Fake dad, don't come. My real dad don't want you here." I was already dressed, with my outfit picked and the expensive gift on the bed. For the graduation party I paid for, I didn't cry. I just made one call that left everyone absolutely stunned. The suit was already laid out on the bed. Navy blue, tailored, the one I'd bought specifically for this occasion, the one I'd tried on 3 times in the store because I wanted to get it right, because this wasn't just any party. This was his graduation party. Jake's, my stepson's, the kid I'd raised since he was 7 years old. The gift sat beside it, wrapped in silver paper with a navy ribbon matching the suit, because I'm that kind of person. Inside the box was a Tag Heuer watch, not obscene, not trying too hard. Just significant. The kind of watch a young man wears when he's becoming someone, when he's stepping into the world with people who believed in him, standing behind him. I believed in him. I'd paid for the party too, the whole thing. Booked the venue 6 months ago when Jake first mentioned wanting something nice for graduation. Not a backyard thing, not pizza and plastic cups. Something he could be proud of, something his friends would remember. "The Oaks," he'd said, showing me pictures on his phone, his eyes bright, with that particular teenage hope that's half embarrassment, half desperate wanting. "It's got this outdoor pavilion thing, and they do catering, and there's lighting, and—" "Book it," I'd said. His mother, Diane, had smiled at me across the kitchen table, grateful, warm, the way she used to smile at me before everything got complicated. The venue cost $4,000. The catering was another $3,000. Photography, DJ, decorations, I'd stopped counting somewhere around $10,000. It didn't matter. Jake was graduating, top of his class, full ride to state. He'd worked hard, and he deserved this. I deserved to be there for it. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. I was buttoning my shirt, thinking about traffic, about whether I should leave early to help with setup even though Diane said they had it handled. The event started at 6. It was 3:30. I was ahead of schedule, which meant I was right on time for my own anxiety. I picked up the phone without looking at the screen. The message was from Jake. "Fake dad, don't come. My real dad don't want you here." I read it once, then twice, then a third time, waiting for the words to rearrange themselves into something that made sense, something that didn't feel like a fist closing around my lungs. Fake dad. Fake dad. I sat down on the edge of the bed, still holding the phone. The suit crinkled under me. I didn't care. 8 years. I'd been in Jake's life for 8 years. I'd taught him to drive. I'd sat through his baseball games in the rain, the ones where he mostly sat on the bench, but I stayed anyway, every inning, because that's what you do. I'd helped him with his college essays, reading draft after draft at the kitchen table at midnight because he was panicking, and I told him we'd get through it together. We did get through it. He got into state. He got the scholarship. I'd paid for his senior year class trip. I'd paid for his SAT prep course. I'd paid for the laptop he took to school every day. I'd been the one who drove him to the emergency room when he broke his arm sophomore year because Diane was at a work conference and couldn't get back in time. I was the one who sat with him, who told him he'd be okay, who made sure they gave him the good pain meds. Fake dad. My real dad. Marcus, who disappeared when Jake was 4. Marcus, who paid child support late when he paid it at all. Marcus, who promised visits and forgot birthdays. Marcus, who Diane divorced after years of disappointment, and who Jake barely remembered except as a source of occasional gifts and frequent letdowns. Marcus was his real dad, and I was fake. I looked at the watch on the bed. Tag Heuer. $1,500. I'd had it engraved on the back. To Jake. The sky's the limit. Love, David. David, my name. Not Dad. Never Dad, officially, because Jake called me David, and that was fine. That was what he was comfortable with. I never pushed. I never demanded. I just showed up. Every day. For 8 years. Apparently, that made me fake. My hands were shaking. I set the phone down carefully, like it might explode. Then I stood up, walked to the bathroom, and stared at myself in the mirror. 43 years old, lines forming at the corners of my eyes, hair starting to gray at the temples. A good face, a kind face, people told me. The face of a man who worked hard, who tried to do right, who loved a woman and her son and thought that was enough. I wasn't crying. I thought I should be crying. Instead, I just felt cold, hollow, like someone had reached inside my chest and scooped everything out. The party started in 2.5 hours. The party I paid for. I picked up my phone again, opened the messages, read Jake's text one more time, just to be sure I hadn't imagined it. Fake dad, don't come. My real dad don't want you here. The grammar bothered me. Don't, instead of doesn't. Jake knew better. I'd helped him with grammar for years. Maybe he was upset. Maybe he'd typed it quickly. Maybe. No. He meant it. However he typed it, he meant it. I scrolled up through our message history. 2 weeks ago. Can you pick me up from practice? Mom's car is acting weird. I'd picked him up. 3 weeks before that. Do you think this shirt works for the senior photos? I'd told him it looked great. A month before that. Thanks for the birthday money. You didn't have to do that, but I did do it, because that's what you do for your kid. Except he wasn't my kid. He was Marcus's kid. And apparently, after 8 years of me pretending otherwise, everyone had decided to remember that. I opened a new message to Diane. Typed, "Did you see Jake's text?" 3 dots appeared immediately. She was typing. Then they disappeared. Then they appeared again. David, I'm so sorry. I just found out. Marcus showed up 2 days ago. He's been talking to Jake. I didn't know how to tell you. 2 days ago. 2 days. And nobody mentioned it. Not Diane. Not Jake. 2 days of me adjusting my schedule, confirming details, double-checking the final payment on the venue. 2 days of me planning what I'd say in my toast because, yes, I'd planned a toast, something about being proud of the man Jake was becoming. 2 days of them knowing I wasn't wanted, and nobody said a word. I'm sorry, Diane sent again. Jake's confused. Marcus has been filling his head with things. Please don't take it personally. Don't take it personally. Don't take it personally that the kid I raised for 8 years just uninvited me from the party I'm paying for because his deadbeat father suddenly decided to play daddy. I typed back, "What kind of things?" 3 dots. Long pause. Then, "Can we talk about this later? I'm at the venue. Everything is crazy right now." Of course. Everything was crazy. The party was happening in 2.5 hours. The party Jake didn't want me at. The party they were all preparing for, probably assuming I'd just stay home, swallow it, be the bigger person. I looked at the suit on the bed, the watch, the silver wrapping paper. Then I looked at my phone again. I didn't text Diane back. I didn't text Jake. Instead, I opened my contacts and scrolled to a name I hadn't called in 6 months. Richard Chen, my attorney. Richard answered on the second ring. David, everything okay? I need to ask you something, I said. My voice sounded calm, eerily calm, like it was coming from someone else. If I pay for an event, a party, venue, catering, all of it, can I cancel it? Depends on the contract. Why? What's going on? Just tell me, if my name is on the contracts, if my credit card paid for everything, can I cancel it? A pause. Legally, yes. Most vendors have cancellation clauses. You'd probably lose your deposit, but you could pull the plug. David, what? What about if the event is today, if it starts in 2 hours? Another pause, longer this time. That's aggressive. You definitely lose money. Vendors might refuse, depending on their terms. But if you're the one who booked everything, you'd have the right. Jesus, David. What happened? I looked at the text again. Fake dad. I'll call you back, I said, and hung up. Then I opened my email. I had confirmation emails from everyone. The venue, the caterer, the DJ, the photographer, all addressed to me, all paid by me, all listing me as the primary contact. My hands had stopped shaking. I felt cold, yes, but also something else. Something sharp and clear, like ice forming over still water. I opened the email from the Oaks first, found the manager's cell phone number on the bottom of the confirmation. She'd told me to call if I needed anything last minute. I called. The Oaks? This is Jennifer. Hi, Jennifer. This is David Carver. I have the graduation party booking tonight at 6. Oh, yes, Mr. Carver. We're just finishing setup now. Everything looks beautiful. Was there something you needed? I need to cancel the event. Silence. Then, I'm sorry. I need to cancel. The party isn't happening. Mr. Carver, the event is in 2 hours. We've already set up. The catering team is on site. We can't possibly. I understand. I'll forfeit the deposit, but I'm the one who booked it, and I'm canceling it. What do I need to do to make that official? Let me get my manager. Can you hold? I held. Outside my window, the afternoon sun was brilliant. Golden. The kind of perfect late spring day that Jake had hoped for when we booked the outdoor venue. No rain in the forecast. Comfortable temperature. Ideal. Jennifer came back on the line. Mr. Carver, my manager says we can cancel, but you'll lose your entire deposit, that's $2,000, and the catering is already prepared. You'd still be charged for, how much total if I cancel right now? I'd have to calculate, ballpark, probably around 6,000, maybe 7 with the catering and the DJ cancellation fees. $7,000, half of what I'd paid. Do it, I said. Mr. Carver, cancel everything. Send me the cancellation confirmation in writing. I'll pay whatever penalties are owed, but the event doesn't happen. Another long pause. Sir, there are people here. The family there's a woman here, right now, who says she's the mother of Diane Carver, my wife. Tell her the event is canceled because I canceled it. She'll understand. Mr. Carver, I really think. Jennifer, I don't want to be difficult, but I'm the person whose name is on the contract. I'm exercising my right to cancel. Please send me the documentation. I hung up before she could argue. Then I called the caterer, then the DJ, then the photographer. Same conversation 3 times. Shock, protests, penalties, and finally, reluctant confirmation. By the time I finished the last call, it was 4:15. The party was supposed to start in an hour and 45 minutes. My phone started buzzing. Diane. I declined the call. It buzzed again. I declined again. Then, texts started coming in. What are you doing? David, call me right now. People are showing up. The venue says you canceled? This is insane. Call me. I set the phone face down on the dresser. Then, I carefully took off the shirt I'd been buttoning, hung it back up, put the suit back in the closet. The watch I left on the bed, still in its silver wrapping, still with its engraved message about limitless skies. I changed into jeans and a t-shirt, comfortable clothes. Then I took my phone, my wallet, and my keys, and I walked out to my car. I didn't know where I was going. I just drove. By the time I reached the highway, my phone had exploded with notifications. Diane, Jake, numbers I didn't recognize, probably other parents, maybe family members, people wondering where the party went. I turned the phone off. The sky was still that perfect gold, the kind of light that makes everything look like a movie, like something beautiful is about to happen. I drove for an hour, maybe 2. I wasn't counting. Eventually, I ended up at the state park, the one with the overlook, where you can see the whole valley spread out below, tiny and distant and very, very quiet. I parked, turned off the engine, sat there, and finally, in the silence, in the golden afternoon light, with the world spread out below me like a map of somewhere I used to belong, I let myself feel it. Not the anger, not yet, just the grief. The crushing, suffocating grief of realizing that 8 years of love, of showing up, of being there through the hard parts and the boring parts and the beautiful parts. All of it had been reduced to 2 words: fake dad. I sat there until the sun started to set. Then I turned my phone back on and watched the messages pour in. 63 texts, 22 missed calls, 3 voicemails. I didn't read them, didn't listen. Instead, I opened my banking app and looked at my accounts, at the life Diane and I had built together, the joint accounts, the credit cards, the investments. Then I opened my email and composed a new message to Richard Chen, my attorney. The subject line was simple: need to talk about some things. The body of the email was even simpler: how do I protect myself? I sent it. Then I started driving again. Not home, somewhere else. Because I wasn't the fake dad anymore. I wasn't the fool either. I was something new, something cold and clear and absolutely certain. I was someone who just made the first move in a game I hadn't known I was playing. And by the time I was done, everyone would understand exactly what that move meant. The hotel room was generic: beige walls, beige carpet, a landscape painting that could have been anywhere, mountains maybe, or just aggressive blandness captured in acrylics. I'd checked in without thinking, without planning, just knowing I couldn't go home. Not yet. Not while the wreckage of the party that wasn't was still fresh. It was 8:30 when I finally looked at my phone again. The notifications had multiplied like bacteria. 97 text messages now, 34 missed calls, 7 voicemails. I sat on the edge of the bed beige comforter, obviously, and started scrolling through them. Most were from Diane. The progression was fascinating in a clinical sort of way. Anger first: what the hell did you do? Do you have any idea how humiliating this is? Everyone is here. The venue is telling people to leave. Jake is devastated. Then confusion. I don't understand why you do this. We can talk about this. Where are you? David, please, just talk to me. Then something that might have been panic. People are asking questions. What am I supposed to tell them? Your phone is going to voicemail. I'm getting worried. Marcus is asking what's going on. I told him you paid for everything and now you canceled. He's furious. I stopped on that one. Read it again. Marcus was furious. Marcus, who hadn't contributed a single dollar to his son's graduation party. Marcus, who showed up 2 days before the event and convinced Jake to uninvite me. Marcus was furious that I'd canceled the party I'd paid for. The laugh that came out of me was bitter and sharp, like broken glass in my throat. There were texts from Jake too, just 3 of them, which somehow felt worse than if there had been dozens. Everyone's asking me what happened. This is so messed up. Mom says you canceled everything. Why would you do that? You're being really immature right now. Immature. The kid who texted me "fake dad don't come" was calling me immature. I set the phone down carefully, walked to the window. The hotel overlooked the interstate. All rushing lights and anonymous movement, people going places, people with destinations, people who belong somewhere. I didn't belong anywhere right now, and that felt exactly right. My phone rang. Diane again. I stared at her name on the screen, wife, with a heart emoji, because I'd put that there 3 years ago, when I still believed in hearts and emoji and the permanence of chosen family. I answered. Where are you? Her voice was ragged. She'd been crying. I could hear it in the thickness of her words, the way they stuck together. A hotel. A David. What? Why? Because I needed space. Space? You just ruined Jake's graduation party. You humiliated us in front of everyone. And now you need space? The laugh came out again. I couldn't stop it. I ruined it? Diane, I paid for it. All of it. $10,000. And your son, excuse me, Marcus's son, told me not to come. Told me his real dad didn't want me there. So I made a decision. I decided if I wasn't welcome at the party didn't happen. Silence on the other end. Long enough that I checked to make sure the call hadn't dropped. He's 17, she finally said. He's confused. Marcus he's been saying things. poisoning him against you. You know how Marcus is." "Yes, I do know how Marcus is. I've known for 8 years, and I've watched you make excuses for him the entire time. But here's what I didn't know. I didn't know that after 8 years of me being there for you, for Jake, for everything, it would take Marcus exactly 2 days to erase me. That's not percent. 2 days, Diane. 48 hours. And suddenly I'm the fake dad. Suddenly I'm not wanted. Suddenly I'm the problem." "You're not the problem. Marcus is the problem. Jake is just he's caught in the middle. He doesn't understand what he's saying. He's 17. He's going to college. He understood perfectly." I could hear noise in the background. Voices. Movement. "Where are you?" I asked. "Home? Marcus and Jake are here. We're trying to figure out what to tell people." Half of Jake's friends showed up at the venue. Family drove in from out of state. Everyone is confused and angry. And, "Marcus is at my house?" A pause. "It's my house too, David." Something cold slithered through my chest. "Is he staying there?" Look, it's complicated. He doesn't have anywhere else to go right now, and Jake wanted..." I hung up. Just pressed the red button and watched her name disappear from my screen. Then I did what I should have done hours ago. I called Richard Chen. He answered immediately. "David, I got your email. What's going on?" I told him everything. The text, the cancellation, the party, Marcus at my house. All of it came out in a rush, clinical and detailed, like I was describing someone else's life. Richard listened without interrupting. When I finished, there was a long silence. "Okay," he finally said. "First question, are you safe? Are you thinking clearly?" "I'm in a hotel. And yes, I'm thinking very clearly." "Good. Second question, do you want to fix this, or do you want to protect yourself? What's the difference?" Fixing it means couples counseling, family therapy, working through the Marcus situation. Protecting yourself means we start documenting everything and prepare for the possibility that this marriage is over. I looked around the beige hotel room, at my reflection in the dark window, at the space I'd created by burning down a party and walking away from my life. "Protect me," I said. "You're sure?" "Richard, my wife's ex-husband is sleeping in my house. Her son just told me I'm fake. And when I responded by exercising my legal right to cancel an event I was paying for, I became the villain." "Yes, I'm sure." "All right. Here's what we do. Tomorrow morning, first thing, we sit down and go through your finances. Everything. Joint accounts, credit cards, assets, debts. We figure out what's yours, what's hers, what's shared. We document every penny you've spent on Jake over the past 8 years. Every penny? Every penny. School expenses, medical, extracurriculars, gifts, trips, all of it. If this goes to divorce and David, it sounds like it might. You want a record of your financial contribution to that household. I wasn't keeping track. I was just helping." "I know. That's what good people do. But good people get destroyed in divorces if they're not careful. We need to reconstruct everything. Bank statements, credit card bills, receipts if you have them. Can you do that?" I thought about my filing cabinet at home, the one in my office where I kept everything organized because Diane hated paperwork and I liked order. Every statement, every receipt, every confirmation email, all of it sitting in a house where Marcus was currently sleeping. "I can do it," I said, "but I need to get into the house when no one's there." "When does Diane work?" "She's at the office Tuesday through Thursday, 9 to 5. "What about Jake?" "School until 3. But it's summer now. I don't know his schedule anymore." The admission hurt. I didn't know my stepson's summer schedule, because apparently I wasn't part of his summer. I was just the bank account, the fake dad who paid for things. "We'll figure it out," Richard said. "Listen to me, David. I need you to stay calm. Don't do anything dramatic. Don't empty the bank accounts. Don't slash tires. Don't post anything on social media. Just breathe. Document. Prepare. I canceled a $10,000 party 2 hours before it started. I think I already did the dramatic thing." "True, but you did it legally. You were within your rights. That's important. Everything from here on out needs to be just as clean. Understand? I understand. Good. Get some sleep. Come to my office at 9 tomorrow. We'll start building your case. My case. Like I'm the one who did something wrong. David, in a divorce, everyone thinks the other person did something wrong. What matters is what we can prove and what we can protect. Let me do my job. You focus on staying rational. We hung up. I sat in the silence of the hotel room and felt the weight of it. The case, the divorce, the dissolution of 8 years, the end of the family I'd chosen. My phone buzzed. A text from a number I didn't recognize. This is Marcus. We need to talk. Man to man. I stared at it. Read it 3 times. Man to man. Marcus, who abandoned his son, who paid child support late, who showed up after 8 years of my consistent presence and convinced Jake I was fake. Marcus wanted to talk. Man to man. I typed back, no. 3 dots appeared immediately. He was typing. I watched them pulse. Look, I know you're pissed, but Jake is upset. He didn't mean what he said. You overreacted. Overreacted. You don't get to tell me how to react to being called a fake dad. He's a kid. Kids say stupid things. You're the adult. Act like it. The audacity was breathtaking. The sheer, crystalline audacity. Where have you been for the past 8 years, Marcus? 3 dots. A long pause. Then, I had my reasons, but I'm here now. And Jake needs both his dads in his life. Can you put your ego aside and do what's right for him? Both his dads. Both his dads. I typed, I was his dad when you weren't. I was there for every baseball game, every parent-teacher conference, every midnight essay crisis. I paid for his school supplies and his class trips and his graduation party. Where were you? And now you show up, turn him against me, and tell me to put my ego aside? Send. You're not his father. You're a guy his mom married. I'm his blood. You need to accept that. There it was. The truth. The thing Diane probably told herself didn't matter. The thing Jake apparently believed. Blood trumps everything. 8 years of showing up, of loving someone, of building a life together, none of it mattered against biology. I didn't respond. I just blocked the number. Then I opened my banking app. Joint checking account with Diane, $24,567. Joint savings, $45,890. My personal checking account, $8,234. Credit cards in my name, $0 balance. Credit cards in our names, $12,500 balance. From the party, probably. From the past few months of preparation. I took screenshots of everything, sent them to Richard. Then I did something I probably shouldn't have done. I transferred half the joint checking and half the joint savings into my personal account, $35,228.50. Not all of it. Not enough to empty anything. Just half. My half. The half I'd contributed. The transfer went through immediately. I watched the numbers shift on the screen. Felt something tight in my chest, loosen slightly. My phone exploded. Diane calling. I declined. Text from Diane. What are you doing with the accounts? So she was watching too. Probably had alerts set up. Smart. I typed back, taking what's mine, like Richard advised. Don't worry. I left you half. Richard, you called a lawyer? David, what is happening? Marcus is sleeping in my house. Your son called me a fake dad. You took his side. What did you think was happening? I didn't take anyone's side. I'm trying to keep this family together. What family, Diane? The one where I'm fake? The one where Marcus shows up after 8 years and gets to play house? That family? 3 dots. A long time. Then, I love you. Please come home. We can fix this. I looked at those 3 words. I love you. The same words she'd said to me on our wedding day. The same words she whispered when we bought the house. The same words that apparently meant so little that she'd let Marcus move in and Jake push me out without a fight. You should have thought about that before you let Marcus back into our lives, before you let Jake disrespect me, before you prioritized keeping the peace over having my back. That's not fair. None of this is fair. I stopped replying. There were other texts now, from people I'd thought were friends, from Diane's family, from people who'd been invited to the party. Diane's sister. I can't believe you did this to Jake on his special day. Shame on you. Diane's mother. This is so unlike you, David. Please apologize and make this right. A number I finally recognized as Jake's friend. Tyler. Dude, what happened? Jake is destroyed. I didn't answer any of them. I just kept scrolling, watching the judgment pile up, watching myself become the villain in a story where I'd thought I was the hero. And somewhere in the middle of all that noise, I felt something shift. The grief was still there, the hurt, the betrayal. But underneath it, something else was growing. Clarity, cold, sharp, absolutely clear. I'd spent 8 years trying to be enough, trying to prove I was worth keeping, worth loving, worth calling Dad, even if Jake never actually used that word. And in 2 days, it had all been erased. Not by me, by them. I didn't do this. I just responded. I just drew a line and said, if you don't want me there, I won't be there. And if I'm not there, neither is my money. That wasn't cruel. That was consequences. I pulled up my email and started a new message to Richard. Tomorrow at 9, I'll bring everything. And Richard, I want to know every legal option I have, including regarding Jake. I hit send. Then I turned off my phone, lay back on the beige hotel bed, and stared at the ceiling. Somewhere across town, there was supposed to be a party. Music and laughter and Jake surrounded by friends, celebrating his graduation, his future, his limitless sky. Instead, there was an empty venue and a lot of angry people looking for someone to blame. They'd settled on me, and that was fine, because tomorrow, I'd start building my case. And by the time I was done, everyone would understand exactly what they'd lost when they called me fake. Richard Chen's office was downtown, 8th floor, with windows that overlooked the city like a courtroom overlooking defendants. I'd been there once before, years ago, when Diane and I bought the house and needed someone to review the contracts. Back then, Richard had been professional, efficient, slightly bored. Real estate law wasn't his passion. Family law was. Now he looked at me the way surgeons probably look at patients on the operating table, assessing damage, planning the incision, preparing for blood. You look like hell, he said. I slept in a hotel, on a beige comforter. I feel like hell. Coffee, please. He poured from a carafe on the credenza, handed me a mug that said, "World's okayest lawyer," in faded letters. His daughter had given it to him. He'd told me once. She was 8 and thought she was hilarious. I sat in the leather chair across from his desk and tried to remember who I'd been the last time I was here. Hopeful, planning a future, signing documents that tied me legally to Diane, financially to a home, emotionally to a family. That man felt like a stranger. So, Richard said, settling into his chair with his own mug, walk me through the financials. Everything you brought. I pulled out my laptop, opened it, and turned it toward him. I'd spent the morning at a coffee shop, not home, never home, downloading bank statements, credit card records, receipts I'd saved digitally. 8 years of paper trails, all organized by date and category, because that's the kind of person I was. Methodical, careful, the kind of person who made good fake dads, apparently. Joint checking and savings, I said, pulling up the first spreadsheet. I transferred half yesterday. You saw the screenshots. Here's the full history. Every deposit, every withdrawal, going back to when we opened the accounts. Richard leaned forward, scrolling through the data. His expression didn't change, but I saw his jaw tighten. You've been contributing 70% of the household income. Diane works part-time. She wanted flexibility for Jake's schedule. I told her that was fine. I make good money. It wasn't a problem. It's a problem now. In a divorce, this shows clear financial disparity and disproportionate contribution to the marital assets. The house is in both our names. But you put down the down payment. He pulled up another document, cross-referencing. $40,000 from your premarital savings. I remember this from the purchase. Did you sign a prenup? No. Diane said it meant I didn't trust her. I didn't want to start the marriage like that. Richard's expression said everything his mouth didn't. Rookie mistake, preventable damage, a wound that could have been avoided with one uncomfortable conversation. Okay, the house is going to be complicated. Community property state, joint title. But your separate funds for the down payment gives us leverage. We can argue for a larger share based on your initial investment. What about improvements? Renovations? I paid for the kitchen remodel 2 years ago, $28,000. And the new HVAC system last winter, $12,000. Receipts? I pulled them up. Contractor invoices, payment confirmations, all saved in a folder labeled House Major Expenses, because, of course, I had a folder for that. Richard made notes on his tablet, his stylus moving in quick, precise strokes. This is good. This is very good. You've basically been bankrolling the household, while Diane contributed minimally. In a divorce, we can make a strong case for disproportionate division of assets in your favor. What about Jake? Richard looked up. What about him? I've been supporting him for 8 years. School expenses, medical, everything. Does that matter? Legally, he's not your biological or adopted child. You have no custodial rights, no parental claim. But, he held up a hand as I started to object. But we can absolutely document your financial contributions. It won't get you custody or visitation rights, but it establishes a pattern. It shows you weren't just a bystander in his life. And if Diane tries to claim you never treated Jake like a son, we have evidence to the contrary. I opened another spreadsheet. This one had taken longer. I'd had to reconstruct it from memory, cross-referenced with bank statements and credit card records. 8 years of expenses, itemized and categorized. School supplies, class trips, baseball league fees, equipment, SAT prep course, college application fees, senior year expenses, emergency room visit, dental work, clothes, birthday presents, Christmas presents, the laptop, the graduation party that didn't happen. Richard scrolled through it. The numbers added up quickly. 500 here, 1,000 there, 3,000 for the senior trip, 1,500 for the laptop, 10,000 for the party. At the bottom of the spreadsheet, a total, $87,340. $87,000 over 8 years. An average of almost $11,000 per year, almost $1,000 a month. For a kid who called me fake. Jesus, Richard said softly. Is it enough? Enough for what? David, you need to understand. This doesn't give you any legal relationship to Jake. He's 17, almost 18. He's not a minor who needs custody arrangements. Even if he were, you have no biological or legal claim. This money, all of it, it was voluntary. You chose to spend it. I chose to be his father. You chose to act like his father. Legally, you were his mother's husband who was generous with his stepson. That's it. The words hit like fists. Precise, clinical, true. So none of it matters. I didn't say that. It matters for the divorce. It establishes that you carried the financial burden of the household, including expenses for Diane's child. It shows you were invested in the family unit. It strengthens our position when we argue for a larger share of the marital assets. But as for Jake himself, no, you have no claim. And honestly, even if you did, he's almost 18. The court would take his wishes into account. And his wishes seemed pretty clear. I closed the laptop, sat back, tried to breathe around the weight in my chest. What about the party? Can I get any of that money back? From the vendors? Probably not. You canceled last minute. You'll eat those penalties. But in the divorce settlement, we can argue that it should be calculated as part of your disproportionate contribution to the household. It was a gift intended for Jake, purchased during the marriage, funded by your income. It's part of the overall picture. A $10,000 picture of me being stupid. You're not stupid. You're hurt. There's a difference. Richard set down his tablet, looked at me directly. David, I'm going to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. Do you want this divorce? Do I want? I stopped, stared at him. My wife let her ex-husband move into our house. Her son told me I'm fake. What do you think I want? I think you're angry. Rightfully so. But anger isn't the same as wanting a divorce. Some people want revenge. Some want reconciliation. Some want out. Which one are you? I thought about Diane's text from last night. I love you. Please come home. We can fix this. I thought about 8 years of marriage. The good parts, because there had been good parts. Weekend mornings in bed. Inside jokes. Her laugh when I did the voices in the bedtime stories I used to read to Jake when he was younger. The way she'd looked at me on our wedding day, like I was saving her, like I was the answer to every question she'd been afraid to ask. I thought about the first time Jake had invited me to his baseball game. He was 9. I wasn't sure if he wanted me there or if Diane had made him ask. But I went, and I cheered. And afterward, he'd asked me if I thought he'd done okay. And I'd told him he'd done great, and he'd smiled. That version of Jake felt like a ghost now. I want out, I said. I want to protect myself. I want to make sure that when this is over, I'm not the one left with nothing. Richard nodded. Okay, then here's what we do. We file for divorce. We cite irreconcilable differences, that's standard, no fault. We don't mention Marcus specifically in the initial filing, but we keep the documentation about his presence in your home. That's relevant if Diane tries to claim she needs the house, needs spousal support, anything like that. We argue for disproportionate division of assets based on your contributions. We push for you to keep the majority of the liquid assets and investments. What about the house? That's trickier. Joint title, but your down payment and improvements give us room to negotiate. Best case scenario, we force a sale and you get a larger percentage of the proceeds. Worst case, she keeps the house, and you get compensated in other ways. Either way, you don't walk away empty-handed. And spousal support? She'll probably ask for it. Part-time income, dependent on your contributions. But we'll argue that the support should be temporary and minimal given the circumstances. The fact that Marcus is living there helps us she's got another adult in the home contributing to expenses theoretically. Theoretically. Well, Marcus doesn't have a job, does he? I laughed, bitter and sharp. Marcus never has a job. That's his whole thing. He's always between opportunities, always about to start something big. Meanwhile, Diane makes excuses, and I pay the bills. We'll document that too. Her pattern of supporting Marcus at your expense. It all builds the narrative. The narrative. My marriage is a story with a villain, a victim, and an ending I didn't want. How long does this take? In this state, minimum 6 months from filing to finalization. Could be longer if it gets contentious. If Diane contests anything, we're looking at a year, maybe more. A year. 12 more months of limbo. Of lawyers and paperwork and fights over who gets the coffee maker. What do I do in the meantime? You live separately. You don't go back to the house if you can avoid it. We'll arrange a time for you to collect your personal belongings, your important documents, anything you need. You keep records of everything, every interaction with Diane, every text message, every expense. You don't date anyone. You don't do anything that could be used against you in court. I don't even want to date anyone. I'm married. You're separated, as of yesterday, when you left. But yes, technically you're still married. Just be smart. Don't give her ammunition. What about Jake's graduation? His actual ceremony? Richard paused. When is it? Friday. 3 days from now. Do you want to go? Did I? I'd been planning to go. I'd taken the day off work. I'd been looking forward to it, watching Jake walk across the stage, seeing him get his diploma, feeling proud of him. But that was before the text, before the cancellation, before everything. I paid for his cap and gown, I said. I paid for his senior year. I deserve to be there. Legally, it's a public event. You can attend. But David and I say this as your attorney and someone who doesn't want to see you hurt more than you already are. You need to ask yourself if it's worth it. If Jake doesn't want you there, if Diane will be with Marcus, If the whole thing is going to be painful and awkward, is it worth it? It's his graduation. And he called you fake and told you not to come to his party. He's made his feelings clear. So I just don't go? I just let him graduate without me there? After everything? I can't tell you what to do. But I can tell you that if you go and there's a scene, if Marcus confronts you, if Jake ignores you, if Diane makes it dramatic, all of that can be used to paint you as the aggressor. The guy who couldn't let it go. The bitter ex-husband who ruined the graduation. I didn't ruin anything. I just stopped paying for my own humiliation. I know, but that's not how they'll tell it. You need to decide. Is being there worth the risk? I didn't answer. I couldn't. Richard stood, walked to the window, looked out at the city below. David, I've been doing this for 22 years. I've seen every kind of divorce. The amicable ones, where people split up and stay friends. The vicious ones, where they destroy each other in court. The sad ones, where good people just fall apart. This one, your situation, it has the potential to get really ugly. Marcus is a wild card. Diane seems conflict averse, which means she'll do whatever keeps the peace, even if that means sacrificing you. And Jake is 17 and confused and probably feels guilty, which will make him defensive and angry. So what are you saying? I'm saying you need to protect yourself. Emotionally, financially, legally. That means making hard choices. Maybe that means skipping the graduation. Maybe that means accepting that your relationship with Jake is over, at least for now. Maybe that means walking away from 8 years of your life and not looking back. Just walk away, like none of it mattered. I didn't say it didn't matter, but sometimes mattering isn't enough. Sometimes you do everything right and you still lose. I stared at him. At this man I was paying $300 an hour to tell me that my life was falling apart and the best I could do was damage control. What would you do? I asked. If you were me, what would you do? Richard turned from the window, met my eyes. I'd go to the graduation. I'd sit in the back. I'd watch Jake walk across that stage. I'd let myself feel proud of him one last time. And then I'd leave before he could see me. Before anyone could make a scene. I'd give myself that closure, that moment of grief, and then I'd walk away and never look back. That's sad. Yes, it is, but it's also dignified. And right now, dignity is all you've got left. The words should have hurt. They didn't. They just felt true. Okay, I said. File the papers. Start the divorce. Document everything. And I'll think about the graduation. That's all I'm asking. Think about it. Don't make decisions from anger. Make them from clarity. I packed up my laptop, shook his hand, and left. Outside, the city was bright and loud and utterly indifferent to my problems. People rushing to meetings, to lunches, to lives that made sense. I stood on the sidewalk and felt completely untethered. My phone buzzed. A text from Diane. We need to talk. Can you come home? Home. The place where Marcus was sleeping, where Jake was avoiding me, where 8 years of my life had been reduced to a problem that needed solving. I typed back, I'll come by tomorrow to get my things. Please make sure Marcus isn't there. 3 dots. A long pause. This is really happening? You're really doing this? You did this when you let him move in. I'm just responding. David, please. I know you're hurt, but we can fix this. We can go to counseling. We can work it out. I looked at the message, at the desperate pleading of a woman who'd had every opportunity to choose me and had chosen comfort instead. You should have thought about that before. Papers will be coming soon. Richard will handle everything. Richard, you're really divorcing me? Over this? Over this? Diane, your ex-husband is living in our house. Your son called me fake. You let it happen. Yes. I'm really divorcing you. Over this. Over all of it. I didn't wait for her response. I just put the phone in my pocket and started walking. I had 3 days to decide about the graduation. 3 days to figure out if I wanted closure or a clean break. 3 days to choose between the man I'd been and the man I was becoming. The city moved around me, uncaring and bright, and for the first time since the text that changed everything, I felt something other than grief. I felt free. The house looked the same as it always did. White siding, black shutters, the flower beds I'd planted last spring already showing signs of neglect. Diane had never been good with plants. I'd always been the one to water them, to pull weeds, to make sure the front yard looked like people lived there who cared. It was Wednesday, 2 days after the party that wasn't. 1 day after Richard's office. I'd called ahead, told Diane I was coming at noon to get my things. She'd agreed, said she'd be at work, said Jake would be at his friend's house. She didn't mention Marcus. I parked in the driveway, stared at the house for a long moment. Tried to remember what it felt like to come home. To pull in after work and see lights in the windows, and know someone was inside waiting for me. Making dinner, doing homework, living a life that included me. That feeling was gone. The house was just a structure now, walls and windows, a place I used to live. I unlocked the front door with my key that I'd paid for the house I'd helped buy. The interior was dim, curtains drawn, and it smelled stale, like nobody had opened a window in days, like the air itself was holding its breath. I'd brought boxes, flattened them in my trunk, along with packing tape and markers. I'd thought about what I needed. Clothes, obviously, my office stuff, personal items, important documents that weren't already digitized. I'd made a list at the hotel last night, organized by room, by priority, because that's who I was, organized, methodical, the fake dad who made lists. I started in the bedroom, our bedroom, except it wasn't our anything anymore. I opened the closet, looked at my clothes hanging next to Diane's, my suits, my casual shirts, my shoes lined up on my side of the rack, everything exactly where I'd left it Sunday afternoon when I was getting ready for a party. A lifetime ago, I pulled clothes off hangers, folded them quickly, stacked them in boxes, didn't look at Diane's side. Didn't let myself think about the empty space I was creating, the visual proof that I was leaving. The dresser was harder. I opened my drawers, socks, underwear, t-shirts, and started transferring everything. But in the bottom drawer, underneath my winter sweaters, I found something that made me stop. Photos, old ones, from before everything was digital. Pictures from our wedding, from the honeymoon in Costa Rica, from Jake's 10th birthday party, the first one after Diane and I got married, when he'd still been shy around me, still calling me David like it was a question. I picked up one photo, Jake grinning at the camera, chocolate cake smeared on his face, me standing behind him with my hands on his shoulders, both of us laughing, happy. When had he stopped being happy to have me around? I put the photo back, closed the drawer, took the whole thing, sweaters and photos and all, and put it in a box without looking at the pictures again. The bathroom was easier. Toiletries, medications, the electric toothbrush I'd bought last year because the dentist said it was better. All of it impersonal and practical and easy to pack without feeling anything. Then I went to my office. This room had always been mine. Diane never came in here. It was too neat for her, too organized, too much like work. I had my desk, my filing cabinets, my bookshelves lined with technical manuals and business books, and a few novels I'd never finished, my diplomas on the wall, my laptop dock, my window that looked out at the backyard, where I'd built Jake a treehouse when he was 12. The treehouse was still there, weathered now. I wondered if Jake ever used it anymore, or if it was just another relic of a childhood he was busy erasing. I packed the office systematically. Files first, every document Richard might need, every piece of paper that proved what I'd contributed, what I'd paid for, what I'd built, tax returns, bank statements, receipts, insurance policies, the deed to the house, my investment portfolio statements. All of it went into boxes, labeled and organized. Then the personal items, photos from my parents, both dead now, my father's watch, my mother's jewelry that she'd left me, that I'd been saving to give to. Who? I'd always thought maybe Jake's future wife, someday, a daughter-in-law I'd never have because I wasn't real family. I packed it anyway. It was mine. Whatever happened next, these things were mine. I was loading the third box into my car when I heard a vehicle pull up behind me. Marcus's truck, loud, lifted, with a political sticker on the bumper that I'd always found obnoxious. He parked crooked, blocking half the driveway, and got out. Marcus looked exactly like he always did. Jeans, flannel shirt, work boots that had never seen actual work. 45, but trying to look 35. Stubble that was calculated, not accidental. The kind of man who thought being a real man meant never apologizing and always having an opinion. "Diane said you were coming," he said, walking toward me. Not hostile, exactly, but not friendly, territorial. "She also said you wouldn't be here. Change of plans. We need to talk." "No, we don't." I turned back to the car, started to walk back toward the house. Marcus followed. "Look, I get it. You're pissed, but you're being childish about this." I stopped, turned around, looked at him. "Childish? Yeah. You threw a tantrum and canceled Jake's party. You hurt him, embarrassed Diane, made everything about you. That's childish." The laugh that came out of me was cold and sharp. "I threw a tantrum. Marcus, your son, our son, apparently, since we're sharing now, told me not to come to a party I paid for. He called me a fake dad, and I responded by exercising my legal right to cancel an event I was funding. That's not childish. That's boundaries. He's 17. He was upset. You should have been the bigger person." I was the bigger person for 8 years. I was the bigger person every time you forgot his birthday, every time you canceled a visit, every time you paid child support late or not at all. I was the bigger person when I taught him to drive because you weren't there. When I helped him with college applications because you weren't there. When I sat in the emergency room with him because you weren't there. I've been the bigger person his entire life. And the second you show up 2 days, Marcus, 2 days, suddenly I'm fake and you're real and I'm supposed to just accept that? Marcus's jaw tightened. "I'm his father." "Biologically. Congratulations. But I was his dad. Past tense. Because apparently, that's not the same thing." "You're not his dad. You never were. You were just the guy his mom married. You don't get to claim him." There it was, the truth we'd all been dancing around. The thing Jake had said in a text and Marcus was saying to my face. "You're right," I said quietly. "I don't get to claim him. I can't. Because I'm not his father. I'm just the man who raised him while you were busy being a biological footnote. So you know what? You can have him. You can have Jake. You can have Diane. You can have this whole house for all I care. But what you don't get to have is my money, my support, my presence. I'm done." "You're divorcing Diane?" "Papers are being filed. Yes." Marcus actually looked surprised, like he'd thought this was all temporary, a fight that would blow over. "Over this? You're really that petty?" "Petty would be staying. Petty would be continuing to pay for everything while you play house with my wife and turn my stepson against me. I'm not being petty. I'm protecting myself. Jake needs stability. He's about to start college. You're going to blow up his whole life over your hurt feelings?" The audacity was stunning. The absolute crystalline audacity. "I'm blowing up his life? Marcus, where have you been? You show up out of nowhere, move into our house without my permission, turn Jake against me, and somehow I'm the problem?" "I'm his father. I have a right to be in his life." "Then be in his life. Pay for his college. Pay for his books. Pay for his housing. Pay for all the things I've been paying for while you've been absent. Step up. Be the father you claim to be." Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then, "I can't afford all that right now. I'm between jobs." "You're always between jobs. That's the problem. You want the title without the responsibility. You want to be called dad without doing the work of being one. That's not fair. None of this is fair. But it's true." I walked past him, back into the house. He followed me inside, still talking. "Look, Jake made a mistake. He's sorry. He didn't mean it." I stopped in the hallway, turned around. "Did he say that? Did Jake actually say he's sorry? Or are you speaking for him?" Marcus hesitated. "He's confused. He's processing a lot. That's not the same as sorry. He's scared to text you. He thinks you hate him. I don't hate him. I'm hurt. There's a difference. So talk to him. Come to the graduation Friday. Be there for him. Why would I do that? He made it clear he doesn't want me there. He was upset. He said things he didn't mean. You're the adult. I should what, Marcus? Keep showing up for people who don't want me? Keep paying for things I'm not welcome to attend? Keep pretending that biology doesn't matter when apparently it's the only thing that matters? It's not the only thing that matters. Really? Because your son, and he is your son, you've made that clear, told me I'm fake. You agreed with him. Diane, let it happen. So tell me, what exactly matters besides blood? Marcus ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. Look, I know I haven't been in the best. I know I wasn't there like I should have been, but I'm trying now. Can't you give me a chance? A chance to what? To be the father you should have been all along? Sure, great, do that, but you don't get to do it at my expense. You don't get to use my house, my money, my family. You want to be Jake's dad? Actually be his dad. Pay for things. Show up. Be consistent. But leave me out of it. Diane still loves you, she told me. She wants to work this out. Diane had a choice. She chose to let you move in. She chose to let Jake disrespect me. She chose to protect both of you instead of standing up for me. That's not love. That's convenience. She's trying to keep her family together. I was her family for 8 years, and she threw me away the second it became uncomfortable to keep me. I went back to my office, grabbed 2 more boxes. Marcus stood in the doorway watching. Jake's graduation is Friday, he said again. 2 o'clock. He wants you there, even if he can't say it. Then he should say it. He should text me, call me, apologize. But he won't, because he doesn't actually want me there. He just wants someone to blame for the party that didn't happen, and that someone is me. You're being stubborn. I'm being honest. For the first time in this whole mess, I'm being completely honest. I'm done pretending, done being convenient, done being the ATM that everyone takes for granted. I carried the boxes past Marcus, out to the car, loaded them in. When I came back, he was still standing in the office doorway. What's it going to take? He asked. For you to forgive him? I stopped, looked at him, really looked at him. An apology, a real one, not filtered through you or Diane, from Jake, directly. An acknowledgement that he hurt me, that what he said was wrong. And a genuine desire to have me in his life, not because I pay for things, but because he actually wants me there. That's what it would take. And if he does that, then we'll see. But Marcus, I'm not holding my breath, because the pattern here is pretty clear. Jake got what he wanted you back in his life. He doesn't need me anymore. And honestly, I'm starting to think I don't need this anymore either. I grabbed the last 2 boxes from the office, carried them out, loaded them. My car was full now. Everything important packed and ready to go. The house behind me, just a structure, just walls. Marcus followed me to the driveway. You're really leaving? I really am. What about all your other stuff? Furniture? Kitchen things? Diane can have it, or you can have it. I don't care. I took what mattered. You're going to regret this. I opened my car door, turned to look at him one last time. You know what I regret? I regret not doing this sooner. I regret believing that showing up was enough. That love was enough. That being there, being consistent, being the adult in the room, I regret thinking any of that mattered, when blood is all anyone really cares about. That's not true. Isn't it? You show up after 8 years of nothing and Jake calls you his real dad? I show up every day for 8 years and I'm fake? If that's not about blood, what is it about? Marcus didn't have an answer. Or maybe he did, and he knew better than to say it. I got in the car, started the engine. Through the windshield, I could see the house, my house, the life I'd built, the family I'd chosen. All of it behind me now. I backed out of the driveway, drove away, didn't look back. My phone buzzed. A text from Diane. Marcus said you took everything. Is this really over? I pulled over, typed back, yes. It's really over. What about the graduation? I stared at the message, thought about Richard's advice, about sitting in the back, about closure, about dignity. I'll think about it. I didn't wait for her response. Just put the phone down and kept driving. The hotel was starting to feel like home. Beige and temporary and mine. And Friday was still 2 days away. 2 days to decide if I wanted to watch Jake graduate. 2 days to decide between closure and a clean break. 2 days to figure out who I was now that I wasn't a fake dad anymore. I was just David, and maybe that was enough. Thursday night. The hotel room had become my ecosystem. Laptop on the desk, clothes in the closet, takeout containers in the trash. I'd been living here for 5 days now, and it was starting to feel less temporary and more like a purgatory I'd built for myself. Tomorrow was Jake's graduation. I'd been thinking about it for 3 days straight. Richard's advice echoed in my head. Go. Sit in the back. Give yourself closure. Then walk away. Diane had texted twice, asking if I was coming. I hadn't answered. Jake hadn't texted at all. That silence told me everything I needed to know. But knowing and accepting are different things. I sat on the edge of the bed, beige, always beige, and opened my laptop. I'd been going through old photos, something I told myself I wouldn't do. Digital masochism. But I couldn't help it. 8 years of memories, organized in folders by year, by event, by person. Jake's first baseball game with me in the stands, Jake's birthday parties, Christmas mornings, the trip to Disney World when he was 13 and still young enough to be excited about meeting characters. The camping trip where I taught him to fish and he caught nothing but had fun anyway. His driver's license photo day, I'd taken him to the DMV, waited 3 hours, celebrated with milkshakes after. In every photo, he was smiling. In most of them, he was looking at me. When had that changed? I scrolled back further, found photos from before Jake, from when it was just Diane and me. Our wedding day. She'd been beautiful, hopeful. She'd said her vows and cried and held my hands like I was saving her from something. Maybe I was. She'd been a single mom, struggling to make ends meet, dealing with Marcus's inconsistency, trying to raise a kid alone. I'd come along and offered stability, partnership. Love, yes, but also reliability. I showed up, I stayed, I made things easier. Was that love? Or was I just convenient? My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me open it. Mr. Carver, this is Tyler, Jake's friend. Can I talk to you? Tyler. I remembered him. Skinny kid with good manners. He'd been to the house dozens of times. I'd driven him and Jake to movies, to baseball practice, to the mall. He was one of the kids who was supposed to be at the party. I typed back, "Sure, what's up? Can you call me?" "It's easier than texting." I called. Tyler answered immediately. "Mr. Carver? Tyler, what's going on?" A pause. Background noise, music, voices. He was somewhere public. "I'm at Jake's house. We're having people over. Just a few guys. Like a pre-graduation thing, since the big party didn't happen." The big party. The one I'd paid for and canceled. Okay. Jake's really messed up. That is really messed up. Messed up how? He's not talking to anyone. He's in his room. His mom is worried. And his dad, his biological dad, is getting drunk and saying stuff. What kind of stuff? About you. About how you're being vindictive. About how you're punishing Jake. Mr. Carver, I don't think that's true. I don't know everything that happened. But Jake showed me the text he sent you. The one about the party. Yeah, I got it. It was messed up. I told him that. A bunch of us told him that. He was upset when he sent it, and his dad Marcus was in his ear about it. But Mr. Carver, Jake regrets it. He's just too proud to say it. Too proud. 17 years old and too proud to apologize for calling me fake. Tyler, why are you telling me this? Because tomorrow is graduation, and Jake keeps asking if you're coming. He won't admit he wants you there, but he does. And I think if you don't show up, he's going to regret it for the rest of his life. And so will you. Did Jake ask you to call me? No, he doesn't know I'm calling. I've known Jake since elementary school, and I've known you since he and I became friends. You were always there, Mr. Carver. You were the one who drove us places, who helped with homework, who came to games. Jake's biological dad? We barely knew he existed until last week, and now he's acting like he's father of the year, and Jake's confused and everything is messed up. So why doesn't Jake tell me himself? Because he's 17 and scared, and he's screwed up, and he doesn't know how to fix it. Come on, Mr. Carver. You know Jake. He's stubborn. He gets in his own way, but he needs you tomorrow, even if he can't say it. I closed my eyes, thought about Marcus, drunk and holding court in my house, about Jake in his room, avoiding everyone, about Diane trying to manage it all while the family she'd built collapsed around her. Not my problem anymore. I'd decided that. I'd filed for divorce. I'd packed my things. I'd drawn the line. But Tyler's voice was earnest and young and asking me to be the bigger person. Again. Tyler, I appreciate you calling. But Jake had a chance to apologize. He had 3 days. He chose not to. That tells me everything I need to know. What if he apologizes tomorrow? What if he sees you at graduation and realizes he was wrong? Then he can text me after. He can call me. He knows my number. But you won't be there to see him graduate. No, I won't. Silence on the other end. Then, quietly, that's really sad, Mr. Carver. Yeah, it is. For what it's worth, I think you were a good dad to him. Better than his real one. We all thought that. The words hit harder than I expected. Thanks, Tyler. That means something. Will you at least think about it? About coming tomorrow? I'll think about it. We hung up. I sat there staring at my phone, feeling the weight of Tyler's words. He needs you tomorrow, even if he can't say it. Needing me wasn't enough, though. Not anymore. Need without respect is just exploitation. Need without acknowledgement is just taking. And I was done being taken from. But the words lingered. You were a good dad to him. Better than his real one. Past tense. Were. Was. Not anymore. I opened my messages, scrolled to Jake's contact. Our last exchange was still there at the top. Fake dad don't come. My real dad don't want you here. 5 days old, and nothing since. No apology, no clarification, no reaching out, just silence. I could text him. I could be the adult. I could say something like, I'm hurt by what you said, but I love you. And I'll be at graduation if you want me there. I typed it out, stared at it. My thumb hovered over the send button. Then I deleted it. Because why should I? Why was it always on me to extend the olive branch? To be understanding? To accommodate everyone else's feelings while mine got trampled? 8 years of that. 8 years of being the one who adjusted, who compromised, who made things easier for everyone else. I was done. I put the phone down, closed the laptop, lay back on the bed and stared at the ceiling. Tomorrow was Friday. Graduation was at 2 o'clock at the high school stadium. I knew because I'd had it on my calendar for months. I'd blocked out the whole afternoon. I'd planned what I was going to wear. I'd been looking forward to it. That version of me felt like a stranger. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Richard. Checking in. How are you holding up? Define holding up. Not doing anything stupid. Not having a breakdown. Not emptying bank accounts out of spite. I'm in a hotel room eating Thai food and staring at the ceiling. Does that count as holding up? Better than most of my clients at this stage. Graduation tomorrow? Yeah. Weekend. Are you going? Still deciding. 3 dots. Then, my advice stands. Go if you need closure. Skip it if it's going to destroy you. But don't go hoping for a reconciliation. That's not going to happen tomorrow. Tyler called me, Jake's friend. Said Jake regrets the text. Said he wants me there, but is too proud to say it. Of course he does. Teenagers are idiots. Doesn't mean you have to show up for him. Everyone keeps saying that I don't have to. But what if I want to? Then go. But go for you. Not for Jake. Not for Diane. Not because you think it'll fix things. Go because you need to be there. For your own peace of mind. And then leave immediately after. Don't stay for photos. Don't try to talk to anyone. Just witness it and go. You make it sound like I'm going to a funeral. In a way, you are. You're saying goodbye to the family you thought you had. That deserves acknowledgement. I read the message 3 times. Saying goodbye to the family you thought you had. Was that what this was? A funeral for a life that had never been as real as I thought it was? Thanks, Richard. Get some sleep. Whatever you decide, make the choice that you can live with. I set the phone aside, turned off the lights, lay in the darkness and listened to the sound of the hotel, the humming of the air conditioning, the muffled TV from the next room, the distant sirens from the street below. I thought about Jake, about the kid he'd been when I met him. 7 years old, shy, wary of me. Diane had introduced us carefully, making sure he was comfortable, making sure I didn't push. I'd been patient. I'd let him set the pace. It took months before he'd talk to me directly, longer before he'd laugh at my jokes. But eventually, he did. Eventually, he warmed up. Eventually, he let me in. And I'd thought that meant something. I'd thought that meant I'd earned my place in his life. That consistency and patience and showing up had made me real to him. But blood was louder than time. Biology was louder than love. Marcus showed up and erased 8 years in 2 days. I closed my eyes, tried to sleep, couldn't. At midnight, I got up, put on running shoes, went down to the hotel gym, empty, fluorescent, depressing. I ran on the treadmill until my legs burned and my lungs ached and I couldn't think about anything except breathing. When I got back to the room, sweaty and exhausted, I picked up my phone. 1 new message. From Jake. Are you coming tomorrow? 5 words. No apology. No acknowledgement of what he'd said. Just a question. I stared at it, read it over and over, tried to hear his voice in the words. Was it hopeful? Afraid? Defiant? I couldn't tell. Text stripped away everything except the bare question. Are you coming? I could ignore it. Let him wonder. Let him graduate without knowing if I'd be there or not. That would be fair, wouldn't it? He'd made me wonder if I mattered. Now he could wonder if I cared. But that felt petty. And I'd told Marcus I wasn't being petty. I typed, "Why do you want to know?" 3 dots appeared immediately. He was awake, waiting for my response. Just wondering. Just wondering. Not I want you there. Not I'm sorry. Not I need you. Just wondering. Do you want me there? 3 dots. A long pause. Then, I don't know. 4 more words. Honest, maybe. But not enough. That's not an answer, Jake. I don't know how to answer. Yes or no. Do you want me at your graduation? The dots appeared and disappeared 3 times. Then, Mom wants you there. Not him. His mother. Of course. I didn't ask what she wants. I asked what you want. Another long pause. Then, it's complicated. It's not complicated. Either you want me there or you don't. Either I matter to you or I don't. Which is it? No dots this time. Just silence. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. I set the phone down. He wasn't going to answer. Or he'd answered by not answering. I showered, changed into clean clothes, sat on the bed and pulled up my calendar, stared at the entry. Jake's graduation, 2 p.m. Richard's words echoed. Go for you, not for Jake. Tyler's words. He needs you tomorrow, even if he can't say it. Diane's texts. Please come, we can fix this. Marcus's words. You're being childish. And Jake's silence. I made a decision. I deleted the calendar entry. Then I opened my laptop and bought a plane ticket. One way, to Seattle, leaving tomorrow at noon. I'd always wanted to see Seattle, the Space Needle, Pike Place Market, the coffee culture. I'd mentioned it to Diane once, years ago, She'd said, maybe someday, we'd never gone. Now I'd go alone. The graduation started at 2. My flight left at noon. I'd be wheels up when Jake walked across that stage. I'd be 30,000 feet in the air, flying toward something new, when he looked for me in the crowd and realized I wasn't there. It felt cruel. It felt necessary. It felt like the only choice I could live with. I texted Richard, not going to the graduation. Bought a plane ticket instead. Seattle, one way. He responded immediately, good, clean break, smart. How long will you be gone? I don't know. Until I feel like coming back. Take your time. I'll handle things here. File the papers. Start the process. You focus on you. Thanks. David, you're doing the right thing. I wanted to believe him. I looked at my phone. Jake still hadn't responded. No dots, no message. Just the question I'd asked him hanging in the air unanswered. Do you want me there? Silence was an answer too. I set an alarm for 7 a.m., packed my bag, made sure I had my passport, my wallet, everything I needed. And then I lay in the dark hotel room and felt something I hadn't felt in days. Not grief, not anger. Something lighter? Relief? Maybe. Or possibility. The feeling that tomorrow, instead of sitting in bleachers watching a kid who called me fake graduate, I'd be starting something new, something that was just mine. At some point, I fell asleep. When I woke up, it was Friday morning, graduation day, and I had a plane to catch. The airport was quiet at 10 a.m. on a Friday. Business travelers mostly, people in suits clutching coffee cups and staring at their phones with the exhausted focus of people who fly too often. I checked my bag just one. Everything I'd taken from the house condensed down to essentials and made my way through security. My phone had been buzzing since 8 a.m. I'd turned off notifications, but I could feel it vibrating in my pocket. Persistent, demanding attention. I didn't look at it until I reached the gate. 17 new messages. 6 missed calls, all from Diane, except one. That one was from Jake. I'm sorry. 2 words, sent at 7:42 a.m., almost 3 hours ago. I stared at them, read them over and over, tried to feel something other than the cold clarity that had settled over me since last night. I'm sorry. Not I'm sorry for calling you fake. Not I'm sorry for how I treated you. Not I'm sorry for not appreciating everything you did for me for 8 years. Just the bare minimum. 2 words that could mean anything or nothing. Too little, too late. I scrolled up to Diane's messages. They'd started at 8:15, probably when she realized I wasn't responding to Jake. Jake apologized. Did you see? He's really sorry, David. Please tell me you're still coming. The graduation is in less than 6 hours. I know you're hurt, but don't punish Jake for this. He's just a kid. David, please. Answer me. Where are you? I drove by the hotel. Your car is gone. Are you seriously not coming? After everything? After everything. Like everything was something I'd done wrong. Like I was the one who'd broken this family apart. The last message was from 10 minutes ago. Marcus says you're being a coward. Running away instead of facing things. He's right, isn't he? I read that one 3 times. Marcus, calling me a coward. The man who'd abandoned his son for 8 years, who'd shown up 2 days before graduation and poisoned Jake against me, who was currently living in my house rent-free while judging my choices. I typed back, my thumbs moving fast. Tell Marcus he can pay for Jake's college since he has so many opinions about what makes a good father. Tell Jake his apology would mean more if it came with actual accountability. And tell yourself that I'm not running away. I'm walking towards something better. Have a nice graduation. I hit send before I could reconsider. Then I turned off my phone completely. Not just silent. Off. The screen went black, and I felt something in my chest loosen. Silence. Finally. Flight 847 to Seattle will begin boarding in approximately 30 minutes. A voice announced overhead. We'd like to welcome our first-class passengers and anyone needing additional time to board. I wasn't first class. I was economy, middle seat. But I didn't care. I was leaving. That's what mattered. I bought a coffee from the overpriced airport kiosk, $6 for something that tasted like burnt regret, and sat at the gate watching people. A family with young kids, the parents looking harried and exhausted. An elderly couple holding hands, comfortable in their silence. A young woman crying quietly while scrolling through her phone. Probably some relationship drama. Everyone had their own story, their own pain, their own reasons for being in an airport on a Friday morning instead of wherever they were supposed to be. Mine was that I'd loved a family that didn't love me back. Not enough, anyway. Not in the ways that mattered. "Excuse me, is this seat taken?" I looked up. A man, maybe 60, with kind eyes and a worn backpack. I shook my head, and he sat down with a grateful sigh. "Long day?" he asked. "Long week." He chuckled. "I know that feeling. Where you headed?" "Seattle." "You?" "Same. Going to see my daughter. She just had a baby. My first grandkid." His face lit up when he said it. Pure, uncomplicated joy. "Congratulations." "Thanks. Been waiting a long time for this. She's 42. Thought it wasn't going to happen for her." Then, surprise, life finds a way. He pulled out his phone, showed me a photo. A tiny, wrinkled face, red and new. "Isn't she beautiful?" "She is. What takes you to Seattle?" "Nothing. Everything. I don't know. Just needed to go somewhere." He studied me for a moment, the way older people do when they're deciding whether to say something or mind their business. Running from something or running to something? Is there a difference? Oh, there's always a difference. Running from, that's fear. Running to, that's hope. Most people think they're doing one when they're actually doing the other. He tucked his phone away. My wife used to say that when things fell apart, it wasn't the end. It was just the middle. The end comes later, after you've figured out what the falling apart was supposed to teach you. Your wife sounds wise. She was. Died 3 years ago. Cancer. And I spent those 3 years running from the grief, staying busy, avoiding the house, filling every moment, so I didn't have to feel it. Then my daughter called and said she was pregnant, and I realized I'd been running from the wrong thing. I should have been running toward the life that was still happening, the people who still needed me. What if they don't need you, the people? What if they made it clear you're not necessary? Then you find new people. The world's full of folks who need good people in their lives. You just have to be open to finding them. He stood up as the boarding announcement started. "That's us." "Middle seat?" "Unfortunately." "Window here. At least one of us got lucky." He smiled. "Whatever you're running from, I hope Seattle treats you better than whatever you left behind." "Thanks." We boarded. I squeezed into my middle seat between a businessman who immediately fell asleep and a college student who put in earbuds and ignored the world. Perfect. Anonymous. Exactly what I needed. The plane taxied. I watched through the window the businessman had tilted toward me, his head almost on my shoulder, but I didn't care as we lifted off. The ground fell away. The city got smaller. Everything I knew became miniature and distant. At 2 o'clock, we were somewhere over Wyoming. I checked my watch. Jake would be lining up right now. Cap and gown. Nervous and excited. Diane would be in the stands with Marcus, scanning the crowd, hoping I'd show up at the last minute. I'd disappointed a lot of people today. Strangely, I felt okay about it. The college student next to me pulled out a notebook, started writing. I glanced over, couldn't help it, and saw what looked like a letter. "Dear Mom, I know you're disappointed in me." I looked away. Not my business. Everyone had their own complicated family drama. The flight attendant came by with drinks. I ordered a whiskey, even though it was barely 1 o'clock. The businessman woke up long enough to order one too, then fell back asleep. I sipped the whiskey, terrible airplane whiskey always was, and thought about the old man's question, running from or running to. I didn't know anymore. When Diane and I met, I thought I was running to something, to partnership, to family, to belonging. She'd been so grateful for my presence, so happy to have someone reliable, someone who showed up, and Jake had been this sweet, shy kid who needed a father figure. I'd thought I could be that. I'd thought that's what I was doing. But maybe I'd been running from something all along. From loneliness. From my own fear of not being needed. From the empty apartment and quiet weekends, and the nagging feeling that my life was supposed to mean something more than work and hobbies and surface friendships. I'd wanted to matter. To someone. To anyone. And I'd chosen a ready-made family who'd let me matter right up until the moment it became inconvenient. The whiskey burned going down. I ordered another. "You celebrating or medicating?" the flight attendant asked, not unkindly. "Is there a difference?" "Is there a difference?" She smiled. "Not on planes, there isn't," she poured generously. "Bad day? Bad week. Bad month. Bad 8 years, maybe. Well, Seattle's beautiful this time of year. Might turn things around for you. That's the hope." She moved on. The businessman continued sleeping. The college student kept writing her letter. And I sat in my middle seat, 30,000 feet above the ground, drinking bad whiskey and feeling the weight of everything I'd left behind. My phone was still off. I wondered if Diane had figured out I wasn't coming. If Jake had looked for me in the crowd during his walk across the stage. If Marcus was smug about being right that I was a coward, running away. Maybe I was. Or maybe I was just tired of fighting for a place in a family that saw me as optional. The flight was 5 hours. I dozed intermittently, uncomfortable and cramped, but grateful for the liminal space of travel. Not here, not there, just in between, moving towards something unknown. We landed in Seattle at 4:47 p.m. local time. I turned on my phone while we taxied to the gate. 43 new messages. 19 missed calls. 7 voicemails. I didn't read any of them. Just opened my email and looked up hotels near Pike Place Market. Booked one without thinking too hard about the price. A nice one. A room with a view of the Sound. Because why not? What was I saving money for anymore? The divorce was going to cost me half of everything anyway. I collected my bag, caught a ride share to the hotel. The driver was mercifully quiet. Just drove and let me stare out the window at the city. Gray skies, of course. This was Seattle, but beautiful in that moody way that matched how I felt. Overcast but not dark. Melancholy but not miserable. The hotel was boutique, modern, the kind of place Diane would have called too trendy. The room was on the 12th floor, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Elliott Bay. Ferries moved across the water. The city stretched out below. Everything felt very far away. I dropped my bag, stood at the window, and finally let myself check my phone. The first message from Diane. "He graduated. You missed it. I hope you're happy." I wasn't happy, but I wasn't unhappy either. I was just here, in Seattle, starting something new. There were photos. Diane had sent them. Jake in his cap and gown, smiling. Marcus standing next to him, with his arm around Jake's shoulders. Diane on Jake's other side, beaming. A family photo, complete, without me. I stared at it for a long time. They looked fine, happy, even. Like my absence hadn't mattered at all. One message from Jake, sent at 2:47. "You really didn't come. Not a question." A statement. Disappointment wrapped in 3 words. I typed back, "You called me fake. I decided to believe you. Congratulations on graduating." Then I scrolled to Richard's messages. "Papers filed. Should be served to Diane Monday. How's Seattle? Haven't seen it yet. Just got to the hotel. Take your time. Breathe. You did the right thing. Doesn't feel like it. It never does at first. Give it time." I set the phone down. Ordered room service overpriced salmon and a bottle of wine that cost more than it should. When it arrived, I ate at the window, watching the city transition from afternoon to evening, the lights starting to glow against the gray sky. My phone rang. Diane. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again. I turned the sound off. The salmon was good. The wine was better. And the silence, my choice this time, not imposed by anyone else's judgment, was perfect. At 7 p.m., I put on a jacket and went walking. Pike Place Market was crowded even in the evening. Tourists and locals mixing together, the smell of fish and flowers and fresh bread filling the air. I watched the fish throwers, Bought flowers I didn't need from a vendor who told me they'd brighten up my hotel room. Got coffee from the original Starbucks? Overpriced? Underwhelming, but checked a box on the tourist list. No one knew me here. No one had expectations. No one was disappointed. I was just a man in a city, drinking coffee, carrying flowers, figuring out what came next. At 9 p.m., I found myself at a bar near the waterfront. Not crowded, just full enough to feel alive. I ordered a whiskey better than airplane whiskey, thank God, and sat at the bar. First time in Seattle? The bartender asked. Young, probably mid-20s, with practiced friendly bartender energy. Yeah, first time. Business or pleasure? Neither. Both. I don't know. Escape? Maybe. Fair enough. Seattle's good for that. People come here to start over. Weather's moody enough that it matches whatever emotional crisis you're working through. She smiled. What are you working through? Divorce. Stepkid who doesn't want me. 8 years down the drain. The usual midlife crisis stuff. Ouch. I'm sorry. Don't be. I'm the one who left. Sometimes leaving is the bravest thing you can do. Or the most cowardly. Depends who you ask. Well, I'm asking you. Brave or coward? I thought about it. About Jake's graduation that I'd missed. About Marcus calling me a coward. About Richard telling me I did the right thing. I think I'm just tired, I said finally. Tired of fighting for people who don't fight for me. Tired of being convenient until I'm not. Tired of being called fake. Then you're not a coward. You're just smart. She refilled my glass without asking. On the house. For bravery. I didn't do anything brave. You walked away from something that wasn't working. You chose yourself. That's braver than most people manage. Trust me, I see a lot of people in here drowning their problems instead of solving them. You're solving yours. By running to Seattle? By giving yourself space to figure out what you actually want. That's not running away. That's recalibrating. I liked that. Recalibrating. Not running. Not hiding. Just pausing. Taking stock. Figuring out what came next. I stayed at the bar until 11, talking to the bartender between her other customers, listening to her stories about the city, about the people who came through. She'd moved here from Texas 5 years ago, after a bad breakup. Reinvented herself, found a community, built a life. It's possible, she said as I paid my tab. Starting over. It's scary, but it's possible. Thanks. Come back tomorrow. I'll show you the good coffee places. Not the tourist traps. I might do that. I walked back to the hotel. The city was quieter now, the streets emptying as people headed home to their lives. I thought about home, the house I'd left, the bed I'd shared with Diane, the office where I'd worked late nights while Jake did homework at the kitchen table. It didn't feel like home anymore, just a place I used to live. Back in my hotel room, I checked my phone one last time before bed. One new message. From Jake. I really am sorry. Not just because Mom made me say it. I mean it. I was wrong. You weren't fake. You were the realest dad I ever had. I read it 3 times. Were, past tense. Thank you for saying that. I hope college is everything you want it to be. Polite, distant, final. I turned off the phone, got into bed, stared at the ceiling, and for the first time in days, I cried. Not because I was sad, not exactly. Because something was over, something I'd believed in, something I'd built, and I was grieving it properly now. Finally, tomorrow I'd wake up in Seattle, I'd find good coffee, I'd explore the city, I'd figure out what came next. But tonight, I let myself mourn. The family I'd thought I had, the father I'd tried to be, the life that had never been quite real enough to survive. Seattle in the morning was soft and gray, the kind of light that made everything feel muted and new at the same time. I woke up at 6, disoriented for a moment. Where was I? Why was the bed different? Before remembering. Hotel, Seattle, 1,000 miles from everything I'd known. I ordered coffee from room service, sat at the window and watched the ferries move across the water. Precise and purposeful, knowing exactly where they were going. I envied them that certainty. My phone had been charging on the nightstand. I'd left it off overnight, but I turned it on now. Needed to check email, see if Richard had updates, face whatever messages had accumulated while I slept. 67 notifications. Most were from Diane. A progression from anger to pleading to something that looked like acceptance. The papers were served this morning. You really filed for divorce. Marcus says good riddance, that we're better off without you. But I don't think that's true. Jake won't come out of his room. He keeps reading your last text over and over. I know I messed up. I should have stood up for you. Should have made Jake apologize sooner. Should have never let Marcus move in. I see it now. But David, isn't 8 years worth fighting for? Please, call me, even if you don't want to work it out. Just call me, so I know you're okay. I read them all. Felt nothing. Then felt guilty for feeling nothing. Then felt angry at feeling guilty. 8 years was worth fighting for, but I'd been the only one fighting. Diane had been managing. There was a difference. I typed, I'm okay. I'm in Seattle. And no, we don't need to talk. Richard will handle everything. Tell Jake I meant what I said. He'll do great at college. Tell Marcus he won the battle but lost nothing worth having. And tell yourself that you made your choice when you let him move in. I'm just responding to the choice you already made. Send. 3 dots appeared immediately. I turned the phone off before she could respond. I didn't want a conversation. I wanted space. The coffee arrived. I tipped generously 40%, because I was in a weird mood where money felt meaningless, and drank it while scrolling through my email. Richard had sent documents to review. Financial disclosures, asset lists, the clinical dismantling of a marriage. I skimmed them, signed electronically, sent them back. Then I closed my laptop and decided not to think about it for the rest of the day. I was in Seattle. I might as well see it properly. I spent the morning at Pike Place Market. Properly this time. Bought fresh flowers. Again, the vendor from yesterday recognized me, said I seemed less sad today. I wasn't sure if that was true, but I thanked her anyway. Got a breakfast sandwich from a place with a line out the door. The kind of place locals swore by. It was good. Worth the wait. At noon, I walked to the Space Needle. Rode the elevator up with tourists taking selfies and families with kids running around. At the top, I stood at the windows and looked out at the city spread below. Mount Rainier, in the distance, barely visible through the clouds. The Sound stretching out gray and vast. From up here, everything looked manageable, contained. My problems were 1,000 miles away and very, very small. My phone rang. I'd turned it back on to take photos. Diane again. I almost declined, but something made me answer. What, Diane? Don't hang up, please. I'm not hanging up. I'm listening. What do you want? Jake wants to talk to you. Then Jake can call me himself. He's scared. He doesn't know what to say. That's not my problem. David, he's 17. He made a mistake. He's sorry. Can't you just talk to him? I texted him back yesterday. I told him thank you for the apology and I wished him well. That's all the conversation I have in me right now. That's it? That's all he gets? After 8 years? I laughed. Couldn't help it. Diane, after 8 years of me being there for him every single day, he got to call me fake and uninvite me from a party I paid for. So yes, that's all he gets. 2 polite sentences and my absence. That's generous, considering. You're being cruel. I'm being honest. There's a difference. He's devastated. He graduated yesterday and you weren't there. All his friends were asking where you were. People kept coming up to him saying they thought you'd be there. Do you know how that felt for him? No, but I know how it felt to get a text telling me not to come. I know how it felt to have him choose Marcus over me after 8 years. So forgive me if I'm not crying over Jake feeling uncomfortable at his graduation. Silence. Then, quietly, when did you get so cold? I'm not cold. I'm just done. There's a difference. What about me? What about us? What about us? You made your choice. You chose keeping the peace over having my back. You chose letting Marcus move in over respecting our marriage. You chose managing Jake's feelings over protecting mine. Every single time, you chose them. So I'm choosing me. Finally. I love you. You love the version of me that makes your life easier. The ATM. The problem solver. The guy who shows up and handles things so you don't have to. But the actual me? The person with feelings and boundaries and self-respect? You don't love that guy at all. Because that guy is inconvenient. That's not fair. None of this is fair. But it's true. I heard her crying on the other end. Soft, hitching breaths. Once upon a time, that sound would have destroyed me. Would have made me want to fix everything. Apologize for hurting her. Make it better. Now I just felt tired. I have to go, I said. When are you coming back? I don't know, David. I hung up, turned off the phone again, put it in my pocket, stood at the windows of the Space Needle, and breathed. By the time I left, it was mid-afternoon. I walked through the city aimlessly, found a bookstore independent, 3 stories, the kind of place that smelled like paper and coffee and possibility. I browsed for an hour, bought 4 books I didn't need. The clerk asked if I was visiting, and I said yes. She recommended restaurants, coffee shops, hiking trails. I thanked her and meant it. At a coffee shop, not Starbucks, a local place with mismatched furniture and good espresso, I sat in a corner and opened one of the books. Fiction, something about a man who disappeared and started over. Too on the nose. But I read it anyway. Is this seat taken? I looked up. A woman, maybe 40, with kind eyes and a laptop bag. I shook my head and she sat down, pulling out her computer and settling in to work. We didn't talk, just existed in the same space, 2 strangers with our respective projects. It was nice, uncomplicated. After an hour, she closed her laptop. You look like you're thinking very hard about something, just reading. Must be a good book. You haven't turned a page in 10 minutes. I looked down. She was right. I'd been staring at the same paragraph, not processing any of it. Bad day? She asked. Bad week, bad month, but getting better, maybe. I know that feeling. I moved here 6 months ago after my marriage fell apart. Needed a fresh start. How's that working out? Some days great. Some days terrible. Today's pretty good. She smiled. I'm Emily, by the way. David. Nice to meet you, David. First time in Seattle? Yeah. Came here on impulse. Left everything behind kind of suddenly. Running away? Or running toward? I smiled. Second person to ask me that. Still figuring that out. Well, Seattle's good for figuring things out. Something about the rain makes you think. She stood, gathered her things. If you need recommendations, restaurants, places to see, I'm here most afternoons working. Feel free to ask. Thanks. She left. I sat there for another hour, pretending to read, actually just thinking. About Diane's words. When did you get so cold? About Jake's apology. You were the realest dad I ever had. About Marcus's judgment. Coward. About Richard's advice. You're doing the right thing. About the bartender's words. Sometimes leaving is the bravest thing you can do. Who was right? Maybe they all were. Maybe I was cold and brave and cruel and smart all at once. Maybe leaving was both cowardly and courageous. Maybe I was both the villain in their story and the hero in mine. I left the coffee shop at 6. Found a restaurant the clerk at the bookstore had recommended farm to table, she'd called it, whatever that meant. It was good. I ate alone at the bar, watched the chefs work in the open kitchen, ordered too much wine. The bartender here was older, 50s maybe, with the easy confidence of someone who'd been doing this forever. You're not from here, he said. Not a question. That obvious? You've got that lost tourist look, not the excited kind, the running from something kind. Divorce, stepkid, the usual. Ah, I've seen that look a lot. Seattle attracts people who need to disappear for a while. He poured me another glass. You disappearing or just visiting? I don't know yet. Fair enough. Take your time. City's not going anywhere. I paid my tab around 9. Walked back to the hotel through streets that were starting to feel almost familiar. The Pike Place Market area. The waterfront. The hotels clustered together like they were protecting each other from the cold. Back in my room, I stood at the window again. Seemed to be becoming a habit. The city lights reflected off the water. Everything doubled and distant. I turned on my phone. 83 notifications now. Most were spam. Some were from Richard updates on the divorce, questions about assets, scheduling for depositions. Diane had stopped texting. Jake had sent 3 messages. Mom said you hung up on her. I don't blame you, but I still wish you'd talk to me. I stared at that last one. I still wish you'd talk to me. What would I say? What words could possibly bridge the gap between fake dad and whatever relationship he thought we could salvage? I typed, "What do you want to talk about?" 3 dots appeared almost immediately. He was waiting, watching his phone, hoping I'd respond. "I want to explain. About the text. About everything. I'm listening." 3 dots. A long pause. Then, "Dad Marcus, he came back, and he was saying all this stuff about how he was sorry he wasn't around, how he wanted to make it up to me, how he wanted to be in my life, and I wanted that. I wanted my real dad to want me. Real dad." There it was again. And then he started saying stuff about you. About how you were just some guy Mom married. How blood mattered. How I shouldn't let you replace him. And I got confused. Because I loved you, but I also wanted him, and I didn't know how to want both. "So you chose him." I didn't mean to choose. He made it seem like I had to, like I couldn't have both of you. And I thought, if I chose him, he'd stay this time. He'd actually be my dad. And is he? Staying? A long pause. "He left this morning, said he had a job opportunity in another state, said he'd visit. I don't think he will." Of course he left. Marcus always left. That was his pattern. Show up, disrupt everything, make promises, disappear. I'm sorry that happened. Mom's crying. She says it's her fault for letting him back in, says she should have protected us from him, protected you. She should have. Are you really never coming back? I looked out the window, at the city, at the ferries moving across the dark water, at the life I was starting to build, one day at a time. I don't know. Right now, I need space. From all of it. From me, too? Especially from you. Jake, you hurt me, really badly, and your apology helps, and knowing Marcus left helps, but it doesn't fix what happened. It doesn't erase that you called me fake, that you chose him after 8 years of me being there. I know I messed up. I just want a chance to fix it. Some things can't be fixed. They can only be grieved and moved past. So that's it? 8 years and we're just done? You decided we were done when you sent that text. I'm just accepting your decision. That's not what I wanted. Then you should have thought about that before. Actions have consequences, Jake. This is the consequence. 3 dots. Appeared and disappeared several times. Then, will you at least think about it? About maybe talking someday? Not now. I know you need space. But someday? I thought about it. About the Jake I'd raised. The kid who'd asked me to help with homework, who'd celebrated when I came to his games, who'd laughed at my terrible jokes. That kid felt like a ghost now. Someone who'd existed once, but was gone. Could I forgive that kid? Maybe. Could I have a relationship with the 17-year-old who'd called me fake? I didn't know. Maybe someday, but not anytime soon. I need to figure out who I am without being your dad, without being Diane's husband, just David. And I can't do that if I'm still trying to fix things with you. I understand. I hope college is good to you. I hope you figure out who you are too. And Jake, for what it's worth, you were a good kid. You just made a bad choice. Learn from it. I will. I promise. Goodbye, Jake. Goodbye, David. Not Dad. Not even a question of it. Just David. The name he'd always called me. I set the phone down. Felt something settle in my chest. Not peace. Exactly. But resolution. An ending that felt real. I poured a glass of water from the minibar, took it to the window, raised it in a silent toast to the city, to the future, to whatever came next. Then I called Richard. He answered on the first ring. "How's Seattle?" "Gray. Beautiful. Helping." "Good. I've got updates." Diane signed the preliminary disclosures. She's not fighting the asset division. Wants to settle quickly. Really? I think she knows she doesn't have leverage. Marcus left, by the way. Did you hear? Jake told me. So Diane's alone with a mortgage she can't afford and a son about to leave for college. She's motivated to settle. We can push for favorable terms. I don't want to destroy her, Richard. I just want out. I know. But you also want what's fair. Let me do my job. Fine. Do it. How long are you staying in Seattle? I don't know. Paid for a week. Might extend it. Take your time. Nothing pressing on this end for at least 2 weeks. Just depositions to schedule. But we can do those remotely if needed. Thanks, Richard. You sound better. Clearer. I feel better. Still sad. Still angry sometimes. But better. That's progress. Keep going. We hung up. I stood at the window until midnight, watching the city, thinking about everything and nothing. Tomorrow, I'd explore more. Find hiking trails maybe. Visit museums. Keep moving forward. But tonight, I let myself acknowledge something important. I'd survived the worst of it. The text, the cancellation, the divorce filing, the graduation I'd missed, the confrontation with Marcus, the conversation with Jake. All of it behind me now, and I was still standing. Sad, yes. Changed, definitely. But standing, that felt like enough. A week in Seattle turned into 2, then 3. The hotel room became less temporary, more like a base camp I returned to after exploring. I'd found routines. Coffee at Emily's place. She'd been right about the afternoon work sessions. Mornings at different coffee shops, working remotely when I needed to, ignoring work when I didn't. My boss had been surprisingly understanding when I'd called and explained I was dealing with a personal situation and needed flexibility. He'd given me a month. I was on week 3. The city had stopped feeling foreign. I knew which streets to take to avoid hills, which restaurants had good happy hours, where to stand at Pike Place to watch the sunset. I'd hiked to Rattlesnake Ledge, driven to Mount Rainier, taken a ferry to Bainbridge Island just to ride it back. I was not happy, exactly, but not miserable either. Somewhere in between. Healing, maybe, or just numb enough that it felt like healing. Richard called every few days with updates. Diane had agreed to the asset division. The house would be sold, proceeds split 60-40 in my favor based on my initial investment and improvements. She'd get half the retirement accounts. I'd keep my personal savings. No spousal support, she'd waived it, probably because Marcus had poisoned that well and she knew it. This is going smoother than most, Richard said during our last call. She wants it over. You want it over. We're looking at finalization in about 4 months, instead of the usual 6 to 12. Good. You sound distant. You okay? I'm fine. Just processing. David, can I give you some advice? Not as your attorney. As someone who's been through this. Sure. Av. At some point, you're going to have to stop running. Seattle's great. Taking time is great. But eventually, you need to figure out what comes next. What you're building, not just what you're leaving behind. I know. Do you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're treading water. Which is fine for now, but it can't be forever. He wasn't wrong. I'd been existing, not living. Going through motions, filling days without building toward anything. I'll think about it, I said. That's all I'm asking. That conversation was on a Tuesday. Wednesday morning, I woke up and decided to do something different. Something I'd been avoiding. I called my brother. Tom lived in Portland. We'd been close once, years ago, before life got complicated and geography got in the way. We texted occasionally, called on birthdays. But we hadn't really actually talked in years. He answered on the 3rd ring. David, everything okay? Yeah, no, I don't know. Can I come see you? A pause. Come see me? When? Today, I'm in Seattle. Portland's what? 3 hours? 2.5. David, what's going on? I'll tell you when I get there. Are you free? I'm working from home. Always free for you. Come on down. I packed a bag, checked out of the hotel finally, loaded my car with the things I'd accumulated over 3 weeks, and started driving south. The drive was beautiful, forested and green, mountains in the distance, the kind of scenery that made you understand why people move to the Pacific Northwest. I drove with the windows down, music loud, trying not to think too hard about anything. Tom's house was in a quiet neighborhood in northeast Portland, craftsman style, nice yard, the kind of place that said, stable adult with a real life. He was waiting on the porch when I pulled up. You look like hell, he said, pulling me into a hug. Thanks. You look good. He did. Tom was 3 years older, graying gracefully, with the kind of calm presence that made him good at his job therapist, specializing in family counseling. The irony wasn't lost on me. Inside, his house was exactly what I expected. Comfortable furniture, books everywhere, photos on the walls, his wife, Sarah, their 2 kids, family gatherings I'd missed. Sarah took the kids to her mom's for the week, Tom said, pouring coffee. So we've got the place to ourselves. Talk to me. What happened? I told him everything. The text, the party cancellation, the divorce, Marcus, Jake's graduation, Seattle. All of it came pouring out in a rush, 3 weeks of processing condensed into 30 minutes of confession. Tom listened without interrupting, just nodded occasionally, refilled our coffee, let me talk. When I finished, he sat back and studied me. How do you feel? How do I feel? Tom, I just told you my entire life fell apart. I know, but how do you feel about it? I thought about it, really thought about it. Angry, sad, relieved, guilty for feeling relieved, lonely, free, terrified, all of it at once. That's normal. That's exactly where you should be right now. It doesn't feel normal. It feels like I'm losing my mind. You're not. You're grieving. You're mourning a family, an identity, a future you thought you had. That's hard work. It's supposed to feel terrible. When does it stop feeling terrible? Eventually. But there's no timeline. Some people bounce back in months. Some take years. You just have to go through it, not around it. Richard said the same thing, that I'm treading water. Are you? Probably. I've been in Seattle for 3 weeks, doing nothing, just existing, wandering around, avoiding everything. That's not nothing. That's creating space. Sometimes you need to tread water before you can swim. But David, eventually you will need to swim. You need to figure out what your life looks like now. That's what scares me. I don't know what it looks like without them. Without being someone's husband, someone's dad. Then figure it out. That's the work. Tom leaned forward. Can I tell you what I see? From an outside perspective? Go ahead. You spent 8 years trying to earn a place in a family, proving you were worthy, showing up, paying for things, being reliable, all good things. But you never asked yourself if that family was worthy of you, if they were giving you what you needed, if the relationship was reciprocal. I loved them. I know you did. But love isn't enough. There has to be respect, appreciation, equity. And from everything you just told me, they took you for granted. Diane let Marcus move in without considering how that would affect you. Jake called you fake without thinking about how that would hurt. They both expected you to just absorb it, to be the bigger person, to keep showing up no matter how they treated you. So you're saying, I did the right thing by leaving. I'm saying you did the only thing you could do while maintaining your dignity. You set a boundary. You said, if you don't want me here, I won't be here. That's healthy. That's self-respect. Then why do I feel so guilty? Because you're a good person who cares about people, even when they hurt you. That's not a flaw, David, but it can't be your only setting. You have to care about yourself, too. We talked for hours, went for a walk around his neighborhood. He showed me his office, where he saw clients, small, comfortable, full of plants and soft lighting. We grabbed lunch at a food cart pod, sat at picnic tables, watched Portland being Portland. You could stay here, Tom said. Portland? There's good work here. Good people. You could start over somewhere near family. I've thought about it. Seattle, Portland, somewhere new. What's stopping you? I don't know. Fear, maybe. That if I commit to starting over, I'm admitting it's really over. That there's no going back. David, there is no going back. Even if you and Diane somehow reconciled, which you shouldn't, it wouldn't be the same. You can't unknow what you know now. You can't unfeel what you've felt. The only direction is forward. Forward to what? That's for you to figure out. But here's what I know. You're smart. You're kind. You're capable. You've spent 8 years building a life for other people. Now you get to build one for yourself. That's not a tragedy. That's an opportunity. We went back to his house. He showed me the guest room, said I could stay as long as I needed. I unpacked my bag, showered, changed into clean clothes. That night, we ordered pizza and watched a game on TV. Sarah called to check in, said hello, told me I was welcome anytime. Their kids, FaceTime teenagers now, barely remembered me, but were polite anyway. This was family too. Smaller, quieter, but real. At midnight, Tom said goodnight, and I sat in the guest room scrolling through my phone. An email from Richard. Deposition scheduled for next week. Can you make it back? If not, we can do Zoom. A text from Diane. House goes on the market Monday. Realtor thinks it'll sell fast. Where should I send your portion of the proceeds? A text from Jake. Classes start in 2 weeks. I'm scared. Wish I could talk to you about it. I stared at that last one for a long time. Part of me wanted to call him, to be the person he could talk to about college fears, to slip back into that role because it was familiar and I was good at it. But Tom's words echoed. You have to care about yourself too. I typed, you'll do great. Talk to your mom or your RA when you get there. You've got this. Supportive, kind, distant. He replied immediately, it's not the same. Mom doesn't get it. And Marcus is gone, so I can't ask him. I'm sorry Marcus left. That's hard. But Jake, I can't be the person you call when things are hard anymore. That door closed when you called me fake. I need you to understand that. I know. I just miss you. I miss the version of you that didn't call me fake. But that kid is gone. We both have to accept that and move on. 3 dots. Then, okay. Good luck at school. I mean it. I turned off my phone, lay in the unfamiliar bed in Tom's guest room and stared at the ceiling. Tomorrow I'd drive back to Seattle. Or maybe I wouldn't. Maybe I'd stay in Portland for a while. Figure out what Tom had said, what comes next. But tonight, I let myself feel the full weight of it. The family I'd lost. The life I'd built that wasn't mine anymore. The future that was terrifyingly open and undefined. I must have fallen asleep eventually, because I woke up to sunlight and the smell of coffee. Tom was in the kitchen making breakfast. Sleep okay? Better than I have in weeks, actually. Good bed. Sarah picked it out. He handed me coffee. So, what's the plan? I need to go back to Seattle. Deposition next week. Probably should find an apartment. Stop living in hotels. You could stay here. Portland's got everything Seattle has. Plus me. I smiled. I'll think about it, but I think I need to finish what I started in Seattle. Figure that out first. Fair enough. When are you heading back? Today, probably. After breakfast. We ate pancakes and talked about normal things. His work, his kids, Sarah's new job, my work situation. The mundane details of life that didn't involve divorce or heartbreak or dramatic cancellations. It felt good. Normal. When I loaded my car to leave, Tom hugged me hard. Call me. More than once a year. I'm serious. I will. And David, you're going to be okay. I know it doesn't feel like it now, but you are. How do you know? Because you're already doing the work. You're making hard choices. You're setting boundaries. You're not letting guilt or obligation trap you in something toxic. That's more than most people manage. You're going to be fine. I drove back to Seattle with Tom's words in my head. You're going to be fine. Maybe he was right. Maybe I was already on the path to fine and just couldn't see it yet. The city looked different when I got back. Less foreign, more like possibility. I found a furnished apartment in Capitol Hill, month-to-month lease. Expensive, but convenient. Moved in that night with my one bag and the boxes I'd stored in my car. It wasn't much, but it was mine. The next morning, I woke up in my own place, not a hotel, not someone else's guest room, but mine, and felt something shift. Not happiness, not yet, but the beginning of something. The understanding that I was building something new, one day at a time, one decision at a time, a life that was just David's. No fake dad, no convenient husband, no ATM for other people's dreams, just me, figuring it out, starting over. And for the first time in weeks, that felt like enough. I made coffee in my tiny kitchen, sat at my single window that overlooked the street, watched people walking their dogs, heading to work, living their lives. And I thought, I can do this. I can build something here. Not the family I'd lost, but maybe something better, something that was actually mine. My phone buzzed. Email from Richard. Depositions confirmed for Wednesday. Zoom link attached. Also, I found something interesting in the financial records. Call me when you can. I called him. What did you find? Remember how you said you paid for everything for 8 years? I went through the records carefully. David, you paid for more than you realized. A lot more. How much more? Over the 8 years, you contributed approximately $340,000 more to that household than Diane did. When you factor in the house down payment, renovations, Jake's expenses, living expenses, everything, you basically funded their lives while she contributed minimally. The number hung in the air. $340,000. That's insane. That's also leverage. We can use this to push for even more favorable terms. Maybe 70-30 on the house instead of 60-40. Maybe some of the retirement accounts stay entirely yours. David, you have more power here than you realized. I don't want power. I just want out. I know, but you also deserve fair compensation for what you put in. Let me fight for you. That's what you're paying me for. Okay, do it. Good. See you on Zoom Wednesday. I hung up. $340,000 over 8 years. That was $42,500 per year, more than Jake's college tuition would have been. I'd basically paid for a life I was no longer part of. The anger came then, hot and sharp, not at the money I'd spent it willingly, but at the realization that I'd given so much and gotten so little back. Not even respect. Not even basic consideration. Just fake dad and an uninvitation. I sat with the anger, let it burn, didn't try to rationalize it away or be the bigger person. For once, I just let myself be angry, and that felt right too. Wednesday morning came too fast. I'd spent 3 days in my new apartment, setting up a life that felt half real. Bought furniture from IKEA, assembled it myself because there was no one to help and I needed to prove I could. Hung pictures on the walls, stocked the fridge. Created the illusion of permanence in a month-to-month lease. The deposition was scheduled for 10 a.m. Pacific, noon Central, where Diane was. I set up my laptop at the small dining table I'd overpaid for, made coffee I didn't want, and logged into the Zoom link Richard had sent. Richard appeared first, professional, composed, in his office with the city skyline behind him. Morning. You ready for this? Define ready. It's going to be uncomfortable. Diane's attorney is going to ask questions designed to make you look bad, make you look vindictive, like you're punishing her and Jake. Don't take the bait. Answer honestly, but briefly. Don't volunteer information. And David? Yeah? Don't let them make you feel guilty. You did nothing wrong. Another window opened. Diane's attorney, Patricia, something I'd forgotten her last name. Severe haircut, expensive suit. The kind of lawyer who charged $400 an hour to make people miserable. Mr. Carver, she said, didn't smile. Thank you for joining us. Not like I had a choice. Richard shot me a look. Don't be combative. Another window. Diane. I hadn't seen her face in 3 weeks. She looked tired, older. Her hair was different, shorter, maybe. or just not styled the way she usually did. She was in what looked like our bedroom, the bedroom that was about to be sold. She looked at me through the screen. I looked at her. Neither of us said anything. "Let's begin," Patricia said. "Mr. Carver, I'm going to ask you some questions about the dissolution of your marriage. Please answer truthfully and completely. Are you ready?" "Yes." He was 2R. "How long were you married to Diane Carver?" 8 years, 7 months, approximately. "And during that marriage, did you reside together?" "Yes." He was 2R. "In a home you purchased together?" "A home I made the down payment on, $40,000 from my personal savings. The title was joint, but the down payment was mine." Patricia made a note. "And during your marriage, you developed a relationship with Diane's son, Jacob?" "Jake." "Yes." "Would you characterize that relationship as parental?" I paused, felt Richard watching me, felt Diane watching me. I acted in a parental capacity. I supported him financially, emotionally, practically. I was present in his life consistently. "Did you consider yourself his father?" "I considered myself the person raising him. Whether that makes me his father is apparently a matter of perspective." "What do you mean by that?" "Jake has a biological father, Marcus, who was largely absent during our marriage. I filled that role. But when Marcus returned, Jake made it clear that biology mattered more than presence. So no, I guess I wasn't his father. I was just the guy who acted like one." Patricia's expression didn't change. "You sound bitter." "I sound honest. There's a difference." "Mr. Carver, isn't it true that you canceled Jacob's graduation party out of spite?" Richard cut in. "Objection. That mischaracterizes the situation." "I'll rephrase. Why did you cancel the graduation party?" I looked at Diane. She was staring at her hands, wouldn't meet my eyes. "Because Jake texted me and told me not to come, said his real dad didn't want me there. I was paying for the entire party venue, catering, everything. And I decided if I wasn't welcome, the party shouldn't happen. I exercised my right to cancel services I was funding." "You don't think that was an overreaction? He's 17. Teenagers say things they don't mean." "It wasn't what he said. It was what everyone else didn't say. Diane knew Marcus was turning Jake against me. She knew Jake was planning to uninvite me. She said nothing. For 2 days, she said nothing. That told me where I stood. Jake's text just confirmed it." "So you punished them both?" "I set a boundary. I said, if you don't want me in your lives, you don't get my money. That's not punishment, that's self-respect." Patricia made more notes. I could see Diane in her window, wiping her eyes. I felt nothing. Or I felt everything and had learned to bury it deep enough that it looked like nothing. "Mr. Carver, isn't it true that you've refused to communicate with Jacob since the party cancellation?" "That's not accurate. Jake apologized." I responded. I told him I appreciated the apology and wished him well in college. I've responded to his texts when appropriate. "I've just declined to resume the relationship we had before." "Why?" Because that relationship was built on a foundation that turned out to be false. I thought I mattered to him. I thought 8 years of showing up counted for something. I was wrong. I'm not interested in rebuilding something on the same false foundation." "You don't think you owe him anything?" "After being in his life for 8 years, I gave him 8 years. I gave him everything I had. He gave me a text calling me fake. We're even." Richard was nodding slightly. I was doing okay, staying calm, not taking the bait. Patricia shifted tactics. "Let's talk about the financial arrangements of your marriage. You claim you contributed significantly more than Diane. Is that correct?" "It's not a claim. It's documented fact. I contributed approximately $340,000 more over the course of our marriage. That's a very specific number. My attorney went through every bank statement, every credit card bill, every receipt. The number is accurate. And you kept track of all this during your marriage?" "I didn't keep track intending to use it against her. I kept track because I'm organized, because I file things, because I like having records. The fact that it's now useful in divorce proceedings is incidental. So you never thought about divorce during your marriage? No. I thought I'd be married to Diane for the rest of my life. I thought Jake would call me Dad eventually, even if it took years. I thought I was building a permanent family. I was wrong about all of it. Patricia glanced at Diane. Diane was crying openly now, silent tears running down her face. Mrs. Carver, Patricia said, do you need a moment? Diane shook her head. I'm fine. Keep going. Patricia turned back to me. Mr. Carver, do you love your wife? Loved. Past tense. And yes, I did. Very much. But not anymore? I love the version of her I thought I married, the woman who was my partner, who had my back, who prioritized our marriage. That woman doesn't exist. Or she does. But she's not the same person sitting on this Zoom call. That seems harsh. It's honest. When Marcus showed up, Diane had a choice. She could have said, you can't live here. This is my husband's home. Respect that boundary. She didn't. She let him move in. She prioritized keeping peace with her ex over protecting her marriage. That choice told me everything I needed to know about where I stood. She was trying to help her son maintain a relationship with his father, at the expense of her relationship with her husband. Yes, I understand. That was her choice. And my choice is to not stay in a marriage where I'm optional. Richard was fully nodding now. I was doing well, landing the points we needed. Patricia consulted her notes. You're currently living in Seattle. Is that correct? Yes. How long do you plan to stay there? I don't know. Indefinitely, maybe. You left your job? I didn't leave. I'm working remotely. My company was understanding about my situation. So you fled to another state immediately after the incident. Fled is a strong word. I took space. I needed distance to process what happened, to figure out who I am outside of this marriage. That's healthy, not cowardly. Some might say running away is exactly what cowards do. I smiled. Couldn't help it. Marcus said that, through Diane, that I'm a coward. That's interesting, coming from a man who abandoned his son for 8 years, who showed up, disrupted everyone's lives, and then left again when things got complicated. Marcus is an expert on cowardice. I'm not interested in his opinion. Patricia's expression flickered. I'd struck a nerve. Marcus is no longer in the picture? He left a few days after the graduation. Told Jake he had a job opportunity somewhere else. Hasn't been heard from since. Does that change anything? For you? Knowing Marcus is gone? No. Because the problem wasn't Marcus. The problem was that everyone was willing to let him disrupt our lives. Diane let him move in. Jake let him poison the relationship. No one stood up for me. No one said, David has been here for 8 years. He deserves respect. That won't change just because Marcus left. Patricia made more notes. Let's discuss the house. You're asking for 60% of the proceeds. Isn't 50-50 standard in community property states? Standard, yes. But I put down the entire down payment, $40,000 from premarital savings. I paid for major renovations, $28,000 for the kitchen, $12,000 for the HVAC. I contributed 70% of the mortgage payments over 8 years. 60-40 isn't generous. It's fair. Mrs. Carver believes 50-50 is appropriate. I looked at Diane through the screen. She was looking back now, eyes red but steady. Mrs. Carver is entitled to her beliefs, I said, but the financial records don't support them. I invested significantly more in that house. I should receive more in return. What about Jacob's education? You paid for many of his expenses. Are you seeking compensation for that? No. Jake's expenses were gifts. I'm not asking for them back, but I'm also not paying for his college. That's on Diane and Marcus, if Marcus ever shows up again. You don't think you have an obligation to help with college after being in his life for so long? I have no legal obligation. No moral obligation either, considering how things ended. If Jake wants help with college, he can apply for loans like millions of other students. Or he can ask his real dad, the one who matters, not the fake one. The bitterness crept into my voice. I heard it. Richard heard it. Patricia definitely heard it, and was probably marking it as ammunition. Mr. Carver, You seem very angry. I am angry. I was called fake by a kid I raised. I was told I didn't matter. I was replaced by a deadbeat who'd been absent for 8 years. Yes, I'm angry. I think that's reasonable. Anger can lead to poor decisions, like canceling a graduation party. Anger can also lead to clarity, to finally seeing situations for what they are instead of what you hope they are. I'm not ashamed of canceling the party. It was the moment I stopped being a doormat. That's growth, not poor decision-making. Patricia shifted again. You mentioned working remotely. What exactly do you do? Software project management. I manage development teams, coordinate projects. I can do it from anywhere. And you're planning to stay in Seattle? For now. Maybe permanently. I like it there. Work. Gay. Work. What about your marriage? Is there any possibility of reconciliation? I looked at Diane again. She was leaning forward slightly, like my answer mattered, like there was hope somewhere in this mess. No, I said. No possibility. I've filed for divorce. I want out. This marriage is over. Diane's face crumpled. She muted her microphone, but I could see her shoulders shaking. Patricia gave her a moment, then continued. Mrs. Carver, do you want to respond to that? Diane unmuted. Her voice was thick, broken. David, please, can't we talk? Just the two of us? Without lawyers? Richard cut in immediately. I advise against that. I held up a hand. It's okay, Richard. I looked at Diane. What would we talk about? You made your choices, I made mine. There's nothing left to say. I was wrong. About Marcus. About letting him stay. About not standing up for you. I see it now. I'm sorry. I believe you're sorry. But being sorry doesn't fix it. It doesn't change that when things got hard, you chose the path of least resistance. You chose keeping peace over keeping your marriage. I can't build a life with someone who'll throw me aside the moment it's convenient. That's not what I did. That's exactly what you did. Marcus showed up and within 2 days, I went from husband to nuisance. You didn't fight for me, Diane. You didn't even warn me what was happening. You just let it happen and expected me to absorb it. I thought you'd understand, that you'd be patient. You're always patient. I was patient for 8 years. I'm done being patient. I'm done being understanding. I'm done being the person who makes everyone else's life easier while mine falls apart. I'm choosing me now, finally. So that's it? 8 years? And you're just done? You were done when you let Marcus move in. I'm just catching up. Patricia jumped in. Mr. Carver, if there's no possibility of reconciliation, are you willing to expedite this process? Agree to reasonable terms and finalize quickly? Define reasonable. 60-40 on the house. Split retirement accounts. No spousal support. Clean break. I looked at Richard. He nodded slightly. It was a good deal. Fair, even. Yes, I agree to those terms. Patricia looked at Diane. Mrs. Carver? Diane was crying again, but she nodded. Yes, fine. Whatever David wants. Good. We'll draw up the final documents. You'll both review and sign. Barring any complications, we can have this finalized in 60 to 90 days. 60 to 90 days. 2 to 3 months until I was officially unmarried. Until Diane was my ex-wife instead of my wife. Until 8 years became a chapter I'd closed instead of the life I was living. One more thing, Patricia said. Mr. Carver, do you have any objection to Diane keeping the wedding rings? The wedding rings. I'd forgotten about them. Mine was in a drawer somewhere in the Seattle apartment. Diane's was probably on her finger still. She can keep them, sell them, do whatever she wants. I don't care. And the photographs? Personal items from the marriage? Split them, scan them. I don't know. I don't want to fight about pictures. Just divide them, however makes sense. Patricia made final notes. All right, I think we have what we need, unless either party has additional questions. Diane unmuted. David, can I ask you something? Off the record? Patricia looked uncomfortable. Mrs. Carver, I'm not sure. It's fine, I said. What's your question? Do you hate me? The question hung in the digital air. 4 windows on a screen, 2 lawyers, 2 people who used to love each other. No, I said honestly. I don't hate you. I'm disappointed. I'm hurt. I'm angry. But I don't hate you. You're just not who I thought you were, and I can't stay married to someone I don't actually know. What if I could prove I'm still that person? The one you fell in love with? You can't, because that person wouldn't have let Marcus move in. That person would have protected what we built. You made a choice, Diane. You chose Jake and Marcus over me, over us. I understand why he's your son. You wanted to help him. You thought you could manage it all. But the choice was still made. And I can't unknow that you'll sacrifice me the next time things get hard. That's not fair. Maybe not, but it's how I feel. And feelings don't have to be fair to be real. Diane nodded slowly. Okay, I understand. Do you? Because I need you to understand that I'm not the villain here. I'm not punishing you. I'm not being vindictive. I'm just protecting myself. Finally. I know. I do understand. I just wish things were different. Me too, but they're not. Patricia cleared her throat. If there are no other questions, we'll conclude here. Mr. Chen, you'll receive the final documents for review by end of week? Yes, Richard said. Thank you, Patricia. The windows started closing. Patricia first, then Richard, but not before giving me a thumbs up. I'd done well. Just Diane and me left on the screen. 2 people in 2 rooms 1,000 miles apart. David, she said quietly. Yeah? I really am sorry. For all of it. I know. I'm sorry too. Sorry it ended like this. Sorry I couldn't be who you needed. Sorry we couldn't make it work. You were exactly who I needed. That was never the problem. Then what was? I was scared. Of Marcus disrupting Jake. Of Jake choosing him over me. Of losing my son. So I tried to manage everyone. Keep everyone happy. And I lost you instead. She wiped her eyes. That's on me. Yeah, it is. Will you ever forgive me? Eventually, probably. But not anytime soon. And forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. It just means I'll stop being angry at you. That's fair. Take care of yourself, Diane. Take care of Jake. I hope you both figure out what you need. You too, David. You deserve to be happy. Yeah, I'm working on it. I ended the call. Sat in the silence of my small apartment. Stared at the blank screen where Diane's face had been. It was done. The deposition. The settlement. The ending of 8 years. 60 to 90 days, and it would be official. Legal. Final. I should have felt relieved. Or sad. Or something definitive. Instead, I just felt tired. I closed my laptop. Made lunch I didn't want. Sat at my window and watched Seattle happen below me. My phone buzzed. Text from Richard. You did great. That went better than expected. Settlement is fair. You should feel good about this. I don't feel good, but I don't feel terrible either. I just feel done. That's good enough. Give yourself time. The hard part is over. Was it? The deposition was over. The marriage was ending. But the grief wasn't done. The adjustment wasn't done. The figuring out who I was without them that had barely started. Another text. From Tom. How'd it go? Fine. Settlement agreed. Should be final in 2 or 3 months. How are you? Tired. Empty. Ready for this part to be over. That's normal. You're doing great, little brother. Proud of you. I stared at that. Proud of you. When was the last time someone said they were proud of me? Not for accomplishing something external. Not for paying for things, or showing up, or being reliable. Just for existing. For doing the hard work of protecting myself. I typed back, thanks. That means a lot. One more text came through. From a number I didn't recognize. Mr. Carver, this is Tyler again, Jake's friend. I heard about the divorce. I'm sorry. For what it's worth, I think you're doing the right thing. Jake knows he messed up. He'll figure it out eventually. Take care of yourself. Tyler. The kid who'd called me weeks ago, begging me to come to graduation. Thanks, Tyler. That's kind of you to say. Take care of Jake if you can. He's going to need good friends. I will. And Mr. Carver, you were a good dad. Better than most. Don't let anyone tell you different. I set the phone down, looked around my small apartment, at the IKEA furniture I'd assembled alone, at the walls I'd hung pictures on, at the life I was building, piece by piece, day by day. Tyler was right. I'd been a good dad. I'd just been a dad to someone who didn't want one. That wasn't my failure. That was just reality. And reality, harsh as it was something I could finally start accepting. The hard part wasn't over, not entirely, but I'd survived the worst of it. The text, the cancellation, the divorce filing, the deposition, all of it behind me now. And ahead, 60 to 90 days until freedom, until I was just David again. Not husband, not fake dad, not ATM, just me. That felt like enough to build on. That felt like a beginning. 3 months later. The papers came on a Tuesday, official documents with embossed seals and legal language that boiled 8 years down to 12 pages. Marriage dissolved, assets divided, no further obligations. I signed them in my apartment, not so small anymore. I'd upgraded to a 1-bedroom in Ballard, with Richard on video call watching me initial each page. How does it feel, he asked, when I signed the last page. Like ending a book I'd been reading for too long. That's poetic. That's honest. I scanned the documents, sent them back. Richard said he'd file them with the court, that it would be official within days. 8 years over in the time it took to sign my name 12 times. The house had sold, fast, like the realtor predicted. Diane got her 40%. I got my 60%. The check was sitting in my new bank account, $167,000. More money than I'd ever had at once. Blood money, I'd thought when it first cleared. Payment for a life that didn't work out. But no. It was just money. Compensation for investment. Nothing more or less than that. I'd used some of it to furnish the new apartment properly. Not IKEA this time. Real furniture. A bed that didn't require an engineering degree to assemble. A couch that felt like home. Art on the walls that I'd picked out myself. Not things Diane had chosen that I'd agreed to. The rest I'd invested. Retirement accounts. Index funds. Building something for a future I couldn't quite visualize yet, but knew I needed to prepare for. Work had become permanent remote. My boss said I was more productive anyway. I'd been promoted. Senior project manager. More money, more responsibility, more reasons to stay in Seattle. I'd been here 4 months now. The city felt like mine in ways the house never had. I knew the neighborhoods, had favorite restaurants, a regular coffee shop where the barista knew my order. A gym I actually went to, a hiking group I joined where nobody knew about Diane or Jake or any of it. I was building a life, a real one, just mine. My phone rang. Tom. Hey, I answered. Papers came today. It's done. Congratulations. How do you feel? Divorced. He laughed. Fair. You coming down for Thanksgiving? Sarah's asking. She wants to do the whole family thing. Thanksgiving. 2 weeks away. I'd forgotten about it entirely. I don't know. Feels weird. Being divorced at Thanksgiving. So come be divorced with family. Better than being divorced alone. I'll think about it. Think hard. Sarah's making her pie. The good one. That's bribery. That's family. See you in 2 weeks. He hung up before I could argue. I sat at my window, still my favorite spot, and watched the afternoon fade. Rain was coming. You could feel it in the air, that particular Seattle heaviness that meant gray skies and wet streets, and the smell of coffee seeming extra necessary. My phone buzzed. Email from Richard. Official decree attached. You're legally single as of 4:47 p.m. today. Congratulations, you survived. Legally single, after 8 years of being legally married. I opened the attachment. Read the official language. Marriage is hereby dissolved. Neither party has any further obligation to the other. No further obligation. I closed the email, poured a drink. Whiskey. The good kind I'd bought to celebrate or mourn or whatever this feeling was. I raised the glass to the window, to the city, to the life I'd left behind and the one I was building. "Here's to being fake," I said to no one. And finding out that's actually freedom, I drank. The whiskey burned perfectly. My phone buzzed again. A text from a number I hadn't heard from in 2 months. "I heard the divorce is final," Mom told me. "I know I don't have the right to ask, but can we talk? Sometime? Not now. Just eventually? Jake." I stared at the message. Read it 3 times. Can we talk? 6 months ago, that question would have broken me, would have made me want to fix everything. To rush back into that role because it was familiar, and I was good at it. Now I just felt tired. I typed, "Maybe someday, but not anytime soon. I need more time. I understand. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. For all of it. You deserved better." Yeah, I did, but thank you for saying it. How's Seattle? Good. Really good, actually. How's school? Hard, but good. Made some friends, joined a club, figuring it out. I'm glad. You'll do great, Jake. Thanks. And David, I know it doesn't mean much now, but you were a good dad. The best one I had. I'm sorry I couldn't see that when it mattered. I stared at those words. You were a good dad. Past tense, but acknowledgement. Finally. That means something. Thank you. Can I text you sometimes? Not a lot. Just sometimes? I thought about it. About boundaries and healing and what I could handle. Once a month. Updates on school. Nothing heavy. I'm not your dad anymore, Jake. But I can be someone who cares how you're doing. From a distance. That's more than I deserve. Probably. But I'm trying to be the bigger person. One last time. Thank you. I set the phone down. Looked out at Seattle as the rain started. Soft at first, then steady. Once a month. I could handle that. Updates without obligation. Caring without sacrifice. It wasn't the relationship I'd wanted, but it was the one I could live with. The rain came harder. I watched it streak down the window, blur the city lights, make everything soft and distant. Tomorrow, I'd call Tom back. Tell him yes to Thanksgiving. Start building more family connections. Real ones. Reciprocal ones. Tomorrow, I'd email my hiking group. Commit to the weekend trip they'd been planning. Tomorrow, I'd keep building this life that was just mine. But tonight, I let myself sit with the ending. 8 years. Gone. Official. Final. A family I'd loved that hadn't loved me back. Not enough. Not the right way. And the realization that I'd survived it. The text. The betrayal. The divorce. All of it. I was still standing. Still breathing. Still building something new. That felt like victory. Quiet. Small. But real. My phone buzzed one more time. Emily from the coffee shop. Hey, stranger. Haven't seen you at our table in a week. Everything okay? I smiled. Typed back. Everything's good. Just busy. I'll be there tomorrow. Save my seat? Always. Bring better books, though. That last one looked depressing. Deal. 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 I finished my whiskey. Stood up. Stretched. In the kitchen, I started making dinner. Nothing fancy. Just pasta. But mine. In my kitchen. In my apartment. In my city. In my life. No one to check with. No one to accommodate. No one's preferences but mine. It should have felt lonely. Instead, it felt like peace. The rain continued outside. Inside, I cooked and ate and cleaned up after myself. Put on music. Loud. My choice. Later, I'd work on the novel I'd started writing. Nothing serious. Just something I'd always wanted to try. A story about a man who loses everything and finds himself. Fiction, obviously. At midnight, I climbed into bed. My bed that I'd picked out, in an apartment I'd chosen, in a city I'd moved to, on impulse that had become home. I didn't think about Diane, or Jake, or the family I'd lost. I thought about Thanksgiving in Portland, about the hiking trip next weekend, About Emily and coffee tomorrow. About the life I was building, day by day, choice by choice. About being free, actually, genuinely free. Not fake, not convenient, not obligated, just David. And as I fell asleep to the sound of rain on Seattle streets, I realized something. Tom was right. I was going to be okay. Better than okay. I was going to be fine.